keeping you informed. KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society KUAM is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 virtual Relay for Life Guam.
Vanogita moru purita nonda kantai mantunat nyagi toru ilugar para honra para gloria abibai islasen para honra para gloria abibai islasen para gitodu tempo paz para ita dan gini langit na bendition contrai peligro na fansafuham Deus protegis languam contrai peligro na fansafuham Deus protegis languam. lại mò tay lũ to nu ai đàn ti ho cu asa ko i panu zani panu mai la ne ni tatula ka sa ha ti bi bu nu ko ai za lao sa ti ma kwa za to tu mo ki sin tu ra ventas mama ki sin na sa ku mu ko ha tu mo tu ka panas lo na esta vida na pa be ho no ho pa tengang ni na imu munga tu ma tengang ho pa tengang tu ni pi ti sa no mo no tu ma ngo ta to ra ka tu nya mu lu sa ka tan ma lu te ru a tu la bo sa ta ta pa nu sa munga tu ma tengang ka tu pa sai ka tu pa ru ma ni tengang tu ni on that su I don't think you do ni ma ni is the halong ti sana
Yeah, that was a little behind the scenes. Good morning on you. Good morning, Guam. 6:22. It is the KUAM News takeover of Guam's favorite. Nothing wrong with a little JD Crutch in the morning. Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
We got a lot of news for you guys today, as usual. Real information, real time. It's containing COVID for the next 4 hours. Wow. Quite the guest list. Why don't you join the show at 637-0094, and it's all proudly brought to you by Calvo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., the Bank of Guam, Coast 360, and IT&E, and there are so many ways to reach the show and experience containing COVID. Of course, right here on the radio, KUAM FM, Hagåtña Guam, 93.9 FM. It's Guam's favorite. Good morning. We got a stream, KUAM.com, the KUAM news app on Docomo Channel 10. There's also an audio stream of the show, 8 o'clock. We jump on to KUAM TV 11 and bring you the last 2 hours of containing COVID. And last but definitely not least, good morning to all my favorites on the social media award-winning networks at KUAM. Yes, Edward R. Murrow award-winning. Thank you guys for joining us on our KUAM News Facebook Live feed. Please like and share the show. Let's get the word out there at 6:23. As we always do, we'll start with a dive into the day's COVID-19 headlines from the KUAM News team. Good morning, Sabrina Salas-Mantanani.
Half a day and good morning, everyone. The number of COVID cases on Guam has gone up again. 247 samples were ran through the Department of Public Health's lab on Wednesday, and one returned positive. We should know 234 of those samples were from the drive-through testing in Vigo. The number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 on Guam now stands at 178, with 5 deaths, 161 recoveries, and 22 active cases. Expanded community testing in the meantime continues today, with walk-in testing being conducted at the Gura Public. Testing from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. On both days is free, and again, you do not have to have symptoms to get tested, but you are encouraged to bring an ID. The Guam Department of Labor appeared before senators on Wednesday for a virtual oversight hearing on the implementation of the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program and the Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation Program. During the virtual oversight, Republican Senator James Moylan questioned the compensations packages for individuals hired to help with the plan. He points to a project manager who will be paid more than $163,000, an assistant project manager to be paid more than $150,000, and administrative assistants and customer service representatives to be paid $89,000 and $77,000 respectively. Director Dave Delasola says the compensation for 31 positions includes salaries and benefits over an 18-month period. Funding for all the positions will come from the Federal CARES Act. The Republican Party of Guam reacts, stating as the long-awaited Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, PUA, is finally able to accept applicants. It is disappointing to learn that a federally funded program to help over 38,000 displaced island residents is now being fronted as a political dumping ground for the administration, where a small elite number of individuals will be greatly rewarded for their patronage. A little over 2.7 million in employment contracts are being issued for 31 individuals for an 18-month period. What is
$4.7 million they are utilizing to fund these 31 positions, which is an average of $87,000, could have been used to provide meals for families, school supplies for kids staying at home, or PPEs for frontliners. The CARES Act was designed to help jurisdictions rebound from the economic crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and was not meant for governments to reward others for political patronage. According to the Republican Party of Guam, when will this government realize that families are struggling? And it seems almost criminal that over 38,000 unemployed residents will now have to wait a bit longer to wait for their monies, as 31 hand-picked selected individuals from their circle will be getting paid while training on how the PUA program works. In response, the governor's chief policy advisor, Carlo Branch, says, quote, "Here are the facts. DOL's plan and budget expenses were approved by the U.S. Department of Labor. Of the 62 individuals needed to run the program, more than half are existing government employees on temporary detail from other agencies, and more than $450 million has been issued in combined federal and local aid since the beginning of this pandemic. The Trump administration understands what the Republican Party of Guam doesn't. The largest temporary federal program in Guam's history requires a temporary staff to run it. The vast majority of states throughout the country have had to expand existing unemployment programs with lightning speed using a similar process. The only people unaware of this fact seems to belong to the Republican Party of Guam. While Democrats have historically called for a local unemployment insurance program, Republicans have generally opposed it. We thank them for changing their minds. Mayors' offices may have been closed, but their work has only increased. Village mayors reunited for the first time since the COVID-19 shutdown and shared their experiences to the response. The last Mayor's Council in-person meeting was back in February, and Wednesday morning, MCOG President Melissa Savares called the meeting to order at the Dededo Senior Center. The mayor saying they lost sleep knowing the troubles their residents were faced with, from families in need of food for their children to Manumco without a senior center they heavily depend on, and the homeless community receiving little to no assistance. In other news, from Anderson Air Force Base, an airman at the airbase was found unresponsive in their base quarters at approximately 3:30 yesterday afternoon and was later pronounced deceased. In accordance with U.S. Air Force policy, the airman's name is being withheld until 24 hours after next of kin. The cause of death is currently under investigation. Police arrested local healer Frank Co. James St. Nicholas after 3 victims alleged he sexually assaulted them. According to a release from the Guam Police Department, a complaint was filed against St. Nicholas, who's 49 years old, on May 18th. 2 more victims came forward and filed complaints on May 24th and May 29th. The victims had sought out St. Nicholas for his traditional healing knowledge. Yesterday, police executed a search warrant at his home. He was arrested on charges of 3rd and 4th degree criminal sexual conduct and unlawful restraint. He was booked and confined. A federal indictment charges 2 women for conspiring to use unauthorized SNAP benefits. According to court documents, Marites Barago and Stephanie Muña unlawfully used the food assistance program from June 2015 until June 2018. Barago owned and operated Laguna Best Restaurant Catering located in Harmon and was not a SNAP beneficiary or participant. Although Muña was and agreed to use her account, court documents further stating Muña sold a portion of her SNAP benefits to Barago at a discount on the face value of the benefits to purchase food items for the restaurant. News from the Department of the Interior as the agency awards $3.4 million primarily to Guam to suppress and control the brown tree snake. Funds also support prevention, detection, and rapid response And in the CNMI, that's where we find our Tomas Manglotnia with the latest. Tomas.
Good morning, Bree and Chris. Here's the latest in the CNMI with containing COVID-19. As the CNMI is set to open tourism in about 1 month, CNMI Governor Ralph Torres provides an update to media in a briefing yesterday. He explained that the possible protocol for tourism is and what markets the islands are turning to. He says that community-based testing will be the threshold and ultimately the metric that they'll be paying attention to, also considering tourists getting tested in their own country of origin before arriving into the CNMI, and if not, getting tested at the Saipan airport upon arrival. they're weighing different options and will plan to release those plans to the community in the coming weeks. And some environmental news, BECQ to strictly enforce CNMI litter control laws during COVID-19 pandemic. The Bureau of Environmental and Coastal Quality here in the CNMI announces that they will provide additional enforcement in the coming weeks of the CNMI litter control law during the COVID-19 pandemic. And they also add that they're going to impose penalties on violators provided under the law. BECQ notes that they've observed an increased amount of trash and debris on remote beaches and sites located on the east side of Saipan over the last several weeks. BECQ Administrator Eli Cabrera says that it's pleading to the community to please clean up before and after utilizing a beach site. And news from the governor's office, Governor Ralph de Leon Torres and Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios recently appointed Robert Hunter to serve as Senior Policy Advisor for the Office of the Governor amid the pandemic. And they write that prior to this new position, Hunter formerly served as the Secretary of the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs, DCCA, where he led efforts to quadruple federal assistance for child and family services, as well as art and cultural programs for the community. This new appointment comes amid some questioning about the funding for the position. And Governor Torres, in that press briefing yesterday, says that Governor Torres notes that federal funding will be used to cover this position. And that was also stated in the press release yesterday. Hunter will oversee DCCA and until an acting secretary is designated. And back to the governor's office, the community-based testing that we talked about with regards to tourism is something that he addressed at a media briefing yesterday. KUAM asked him to explain some of the possibilities for tourism to reopen in about 1 month. Take a listen to this clip from the briefing yesterday.
Public health, and of course our tourism with the MVA, Priscilla Icopo, as well as the Governor's Economic Council. Those are questions that yet to be answered. We are working on with our tourist partners in Korea and in Japan. We're also cognizant that each country have their own quarantine regulation. So we are working diligently in addressing those concerns. We also know that that we are reopening CNMI. We have started that, and we are looking at our community-based testing as the threshold on how do we move forward on opening CNMI. We do have test kits more than enough for our residents here. That is something that is still in consultation and discussion. How do we address our tourism market? And preferably if they can get tested in where they're coming from before they depart, and that's something that we can accept here in our healthcare, then that's something that a serious discussion between two countries or us in the CNMI and the respective tourism market. If not, then we need to find a protocol to our tourist industry, whether to get tested at the airport or take them to the hotel and get tested at the hotel.
And here are the latest numbers from CHCC, from the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation's website. The number of total confirmed COVID-19 cases remains at 23 in the Commonwealth. The number of persons released from quarantine is now at 564. Of the 23 total cases we mentioned, that includes 2 deaths and now 16 recoveries. And some updated numbers out of testing from the community program here in the Marianas. 5,832 people on Saipan were tested, 349 on Tinian tested, and Rhoda has tested 376 people. Bring Chris, that's the latest here in the CNMI.
Thanks, Tomas. In national news, heightened security and peaceful demonstrators marked the scene in the nation's capital after the Minneapolis police involved death of George Floyd last week. Meanwhile, a top White House official is is adding his voice to cries across the country against racial injustice. Natalie Brand is at the White House with more.
A now familiar rallying cry as peaceful protesters once again took to the streets in Washington, D.C.
We're standing together, we're taking care of each other. We will be here until there's justice.
On Capitol Hill, a heightened security presence stood by as demonstrators staged a momentary lie-in. Militarized police and the National Guard have poured into Washington over the past few days, and active duty troops are also on standby. President Trump defended his law and order posture in an interview with Fox News Radio.
Maybe it doesn't sound good to say it, but you have to have a dominant force. We need law and order.
CBS News has confirmed that President Trump and top aides were not happy with new comments by Defense Secretary Mark Esper. He said he would not support using the Insurrection Act to use active duty military to quell unrest.
The option to use active duty forces in a law enforcement role should only be used as a matter of last resort and only in the most urgent and dire of situations. We are not in one of those situations now.
The Defense Secretary also took the unusual step of weighing in on the killing of George Floyd and racial injustice.
Racism is real in America, and we must all do our very best to recognize it, to confront it, and to eradicate it.
Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley introduced a resolution in the House to denounce police brutality, racial profiling, and excessive force.
We have the most diverse and representative Congress in the history of Congress, and we should act like it. And in this moment, Congress must function as the conscience for our nation.
It's a conversation once again elevated in the halls of Congress, as well as in homes, businesses, and streets across America. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
671 report, Bank of Guam is reminding customers to be alert to suspicious unsolicited emails asking customers for information or to click on a hyperlink to validate information. The bank reminds all, do not respond to the request, do not click on any links in the email, do not open any attachments, and do not provide any personal information, and delete the message and empty your trash folder. And that is your Banking 671 report, sponsored by the Bank of Guam and Coast 360.
All right, thank you very much, Sabrina, with a dive into the day's COVID-19 headlines. Of course, how many positives was that we had? One.
Yeah, one out of 247 samples, and a majority of those were from the drive-through testing that was conducted yesterday at Chico.
Right, and so 247 tests. That was kind of the target number of tests that we were told the government of Guam was going to be doing weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I know that one of the media at the press conference had asked the governor why we haven't seen that. I think they said, like, oh, we're going to conduct 280 tests.
Well, what happens is public health, when the Joint Information Center issues their press releases, mm-hmm. it's only for the samples that are ran through the Department of Public Health's lab. So it doesn't take into account the samples and the tests that were conducted at GMH or GRMC or the National Guard or DLS. And so that's why you have to go to the situation report on Public Health's website. And so that gives you a clear picture of just how many tests. So it isn't just the number that you see from the JIC releases. There actually is a whole lot more.
Right, but it's not 280, though, because I added it up.
It's
so, yeah. I mean,
some of them are close to like a...
Right. We've had, no, I'm saying...
150, 100, you know.
When we've done the outreach testing, right? Yeah.
No, just testing.
639. Mm-hmm. You want to talk testing and stats? Let's bring on our favorite doctor who... is pastime. I don't know if it's a pastime or it's become kind of full-time for Dr. Peter Lombard to crunch COVID numbers. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd always love to get you on, once maybe once a week, every other week, to kind of tell us what you're seeing when you're looking at the latest numbers crunching COVID. So go for it, Doc. What are you tracking here with the latest batch of results?
I could hear what you guys were talking about there right before I came on.
Yeah.
We're nowhere near 200, that's for sure. Even if you look at all the testing around, I mean, I think in the low, we're probably averaging around 100 to 120, if I had to guess, per day, if you take all the testing into account.
So Dr. Lombard, I mean, is 100 to 20, is that 280?
That's certainly not.
Oh.
So it is good to see. I think our community testing still move forward. As you know, any single case that we get is worthwhile for us to continue that. And it's just frustrating not to know any other details about the most recent cases. I mean, the situation reports is a huge improvement, and I think it would be very easy for them to just list the cases by numbers, especially the recent ones, and say, you know, approximately how old is this person?
Mm-hmm.
Did they or did they not have symptoms? Did they have a contact with a positive case, and how long ago was that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they were found by contact tracing, but it was 3 to 4 weeks ago and they're asymptomatic, that's a huge difference than if they're symptomatic and they don't know where the person, you know, potentially came from. And how bad are their symptoms too? I mean, you look back at the numbers, we haven't had meaningful hospitalizations like over 2 or 3 since early April. I mean, that's a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had probably 30 to 40 positive cases since then too, 30 to 40. And, you know, at least in the early days, we would say, you know, 20% of your positive tests should be hospitalized. That's the number we were looking at. But that was in the height of the pandemic when we're testing really the sick people, and there were a lot of sick people around. 20% of those would be hospitalized, and 5% of all patients would be in ICU, and they're critically ill. So the number of 40, you know, obviously we expect to see a few people that are sick enough to be hospitalized, and you know there have been a few onesies, twosies here and there that have shown up on the hospital report, but you know we don't know necessarily if they were just kind of being monitored or you know how critically ill they really were. And we certainly haven't had, as far as I know, we haven't had anybody that's been critically ill. So it says something potentially about the positive cases that we're getting. You know, are they if they're in the younger cohort, if they're asymptomatic, and if they're potentially even already recovered, and you know, we're just picking up dead virus in these folks. I still think it's worthwhile to do the testing though. You've got the testing capacity, and I don't know if there's still active disease in the community. You know, I heard at least one of the cases recently was symptomatic, but it doesn't necessarily tell us if they're symptomatic from COVID or something else, you know, something new, and they've already recovered potentially. I was thinking one interesting thing to do would be to, we've talked about serology testing and the usefulness of that. Well, since we're only getting 1 or 2 positives on the throat swabs, the PCR testing, why don't we just run them on a serology test? If they're positive with IgG, then we know it's old. We know it's at least 2 to 3 weeks old, and we can say, let's not put them in as an active case. Let's put them as a recovered right away.
Yeah, I saw that in the Philippines, Doc, the way they break down their numbers. They have what they call like fresh cases.
Uh-huh.
And then you should check it out. And they have, I don't know, the other categories maybe like old cases, but it's along the lines of what you're talking about, where the older cases are done with the IgG, so they don't list them as active yet.
That's interesting. And that's, you know, states in the U.S. are coming under fire because they're mixing and matching their serology results with their PCR results. You know, if you've got, you know, again, we were showing 30 to 40 positive cases in the last month or so, but that's not really necessarily a reflection of how well we're containing the virus. So I think hopefully there is a way that we can reflect that on our reporting that makes more sense. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see as, you know, more of the serology results come out. But I heard Dr. Nguyen talk about a small pilot study. You know, the numbers seem pretty small, but if there are other, you know, private groups doing serology testing, it'd be nice if we could see what those numbers are looking like.
Have you heard that there are people doing private clinics doing serology?
I have heard of private companies that are requesting to do serology testing, and you know, DLS to me is the best serology test right now. They use the Roche system, and it's very accurate compared to the one of the first ones that got approved was the Celix, which I believe is the one that MedFarm has. But unfortunately, the accuracy is really not so great there. But so I do know of companies that have done it, but I don't know any other details.
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that situation report? That's something that Bree has really been going in on daily. We had Dr. McLaughlin from Public Health on last week, and she was saying that if you want verses, then check the JIC report, but if you want the Bible, the SIT report on Public Health's website is where it's at.
Yeah, like I said, it's a huge improvement. It came out a couple months after the pandemic hit us, but really, there's only just a few pieces of extra information I think would be most useful to us at this point. But yeah, it's very valuable, and I'm glad that we have it.
The only thing I have issue with, with the SIT report is the fact that you can't go back to previous SIT reports to make the comparison. So, like, every day you have to print it out or save it somewhere, and then compare it to the one that's released the following day.
And that's where Bree will get a lot of our info is she keeps track. She looks at all the categories, and she'll track an increase in a category from the day before, but not because they're collating that data on the website, but because she's keeping track.
You really have to like figure it out yourself.
You need a data guy. Why don't you have Jason do all that for you?
He only likes geeky data stuff.
That's kind of. I mean, that's what I was doing with the JIC reports every day. I would take the numbers and I put them into a spreadsheet, and I'm still doing it.
Once you go back, I mean, God. Can you go back and use the SIT report data?
You have to find it. I mean, because I don't see, like, there's no way.
I know somebody who has it
every single day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't you have it?
No, I don't have every day. I only started like a week ago when Dr. Menglonia came on. She's like, we have the SIT report.
Yeah, well, they could maybe
produce. We have to FOIA. We'd like the SIT reports.
We'll ask.
Yeah. Well, they're probably keeping some really nice looking spreadsheets too that, for whatever reason they're just using for their own purposes, which I think would be useful for the public to be able to see those as well.
Doc, what do you make of these couple of cases we had in the last few weeks where we're seeing younger? There was a 12-year-old boy that tested positive. He was brought into GRMC, was symptomatic with the fever and flu-like symptoms. Then his grandpa was tested. He was asymptomatic, and then we just had one yesterday, right, Bree? In the 10 to 19-year-old category.
Yeah.
Well, thank goodness it's the younger folks that are showing up, because they're obviously the ones that are going to be able to weather an infection a little bit better. Maybe it means that in households, people are trying to protect the elderly a little bit, because if they get active infection, those are the ones that are going to be showing up really sick at the hospital potentially. So that's I guess the only good news about this. I without having more information, though, it's really hard to speculate on why this is happening and how recently they may have been infected, whether or not their current symptoms are related to an actual COVID infection, or if it's completely unrelated.
Yeah, I think the latest case, and they don't tell you, like, when we had the 2 positive cases from earlier this week, they don't tell you which was it the young kid, or was it the older woman, and was it the one that was connected to the significant cluster, and where is the significant cluster, other than that's in northern Guam, right? So,
right. And I have seen on other, state websites, public health, they actually kind of, every positive case, they kind of keep a running, this is case number 155, and they're 58 years old, and they give those kind of details, and you can go back and look at that. And I think what's kind of cool about that is that many people have said this is all hands on deck, and if you have that kind of data out there, then you're going to get interested parties looking at that, and they may be able to put things together and help the situation by making some little discoveries about trends and groupings and things like that. So it doesn't seem like it'd be a lot of extra work, but they've got a lot of stuff to do, I know, and maybe it's just a priority that's not high enough for them.
Right. Yeah.
Have you heard about that eMocha app that Public Health has launched to help with the contact tracing?
Yeah, I think she first announced it at a press conference maybe 2 weeks ago now, and when she did, I went online to kind of take a look at it and see what it was all about. It's vetted by, they've used it with other infectious disease before, so I'm sure they'd have to modify it to some degree for the COVID situation. But I don't know. I haven't heard of anybody that's used it for COVID and how useful it's been. But I'm glad they're looking at something. I've kind of always wished they had sort of an IT champion within their group that's willing to look at that and other means to try to help with the tracing. So I'd like to see it rolled out and see what kind of really results we get. I mean, it's obviously not going to be useful for us if we don't have cases either. And that's hopefully where we stay. But we're going to get more cases. It's just a matter of time before somebody comes in from off island once those flights start coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Doc, wanted to switch gears just a little bit here as we've reopened a lot of things. Are you seeing an influx of patients in to see you? Maybe people have been putting things off for the last couple months.
I have to say, like our numbers are still down a little bit, and I think one metric for me are the numbers of surgeries that I'm doing, and we had a backlog because we kind of shut everything down for a little while, but even we're getting caught up, and it looks like we're slow now, moving forward. So I think people still are fearful to go out in general, and still not getting the care that they're not going to their doctors or to the hospitals as often or as more frequently as they used to.
Right.
And that's I don't know if it's been discussed before, but you talk about utilization of healthcare services and the people that pay for that. I mean, most of our healthcare is paid for. A lot of it is by private health insurance companies, and you have to wonder how much they're bringing in right now because they're still getting their premiums, but their subscribers aren't necessarily using the healthcare services. So, it'd be really cool to see at the end of the fiscal year for them to say, hey, here's a little back to the folks that are paying for that, which is mostly businesses. I've heard of them doing that in the States in various places. So just an idea.
Right, Doc. Yeah, we'll put that out there. Thanks, Doc. We got another Doc who's probably a little busier than you because people just don't stop making babies on our island. We'll bring on Dr. Shea. So thank you, Dr. Lombard.
All right, thanks for having me.
Take care.
All right, wash your hands.
Bye-bye.
Okay. There you go. 6:52, and let's keep it going with the white coats. The white coats are coming. Dr. Shea, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
I just wanted to catch up with you. It's been a little while, and just what are you making of the latest trends with the COVID-19 and the testing and the results that we're seeing?
I think we're testing dead viral particles, if you ask me, because I'd like to see more history on the positives. For example, we know that they have no symptoms. That's for one thing. If it's a tracing type of a test, we'd like to know when was the last contact with positive. If the last contact was more than 2-3 weeks ago, why even test? Because by that time, you're not going to test for any kind of active infectious particles. You're going to be testing with dead viral particles. And I think one of them said that came from off island or something that tested positive. Mm-hmm. Again, asymptomatic. So you have to ask for when was the last contact. If it was over 2-3 weeks, I don't think you need to test in particular, especially if they're asymptomatic. Sure, you can have asymptomatics that can transmit, but if they're doing contact tracing, if they're over 2-3 weeks, I don't think they should mix that up with considering that as new cases. I think you kind of mix up the picture, yeah?
Yeah. What do you think, though, about us seeing an increase in the testing currently, like with the expanded testing? They're going out into the community. More than 200 people were tested in Jigo alone.
I think that's good. I think, they're expanding the testing. I think it's good. I think our positives right now, if you really look at it, the entire population of Guam is less than 0.002%. I think that's what the rate is, which is very low. And those positives, like I said, if they're over 2 to 3 weeks, asymptomatic, I would put them in a separate category rather than bunching them up saying new cases. Because if we really want to open up Guam to tourism, etc., we need to make sure that the message is carried out the right fashion, because you're going to have people that don't want to come if they're still hearing, hey, they're still positive. Look, they're still new positive. Let's not go there, because what did public health say? If there's one positive, it can spread to 3, and then 3 into 9, 12, whatever it is. So we have to be careful with the type of message that we send out. Don't conflict the message. Be consistent about it.
What'd you make of that, Dr. Shea, where the governor and former Governor Gutierrez had come out and said, hey, we're opening tourism July 1st, and then less than a week later, we saw this surge in South Korea, and they kind of turtled in that, okay, we're going to back to the drawing board. So it's hard to talk about fixed things like opening tourism when there's so many things that are fluid that we're depending on for it?
Well, I think I'm hoping that by this time summer is coming already, or summer is already here. It's so hot that this virus has gone to a different type of virulency, which means that it's less virulent. I mean, when you get infected, it's become the common cold, simple flu, rather than making you real sick. Because I really don't look at the number of positives per se. I look at the number of hospitalizations, and so far we have 0. GMA has been 0 for months, I think. So I think that's a good thing. And across the country, it's going down. Now I don't know about these riots; those are something else. But I think what we need to do is look at the hospitalization rates, and if we're going to be prepared, we'll be prepared not in the clinics. We have to prepare the hospitals, both hospitals, GRMC and GMH. Those are the areas where we need to really build up and be prepared for any kind of onslaught if there is COVID-19 that's making people really, really sick and that need the beds. But they got 2,000 beds, tents that's set up. I don't know if even one of them is even occupied. So I think they can start putting away those tents and then bring them back out if there's a typhoon or something. But I think we need to just kind of sit tight, wait and see. But here's the question: is whether or not Guam is going to brace itself for a recession, because the private sector, we're trying to get back on our feet, but Gulf Guam needs to kind of start trimming some fat, because the private sector is already trimming themselves, cutting down hours for people, getting people back to work in a limited fashion. I think Gulf Guam needs to look at that, because we cannot keep supporting a big fat government system that we cannot afford. And, the GRT issue, too, if we really care about the GRT 5% is supposed to be only 6 months temporarily. And if our governor is saying that, hey, we have enough funding, then certainly they should roll back the GRT from 5% to 4%. And that's something that then you should really seriously consider,
Yeah.
Oh, I think the governor's kind of made it clear that she doesn't plan on
furloughing anybody, unless they have to pay the double pay, and then it's
Right.
like, oh.
Well, again, there's a government, the community, I guess, is segregated now, right? The community is segregated, that there's a government system and there's a private system. So you don't want that segregation, because you want to make sure that we are all on the same page. If you expect the private community to, to lay off or to cut back hours and stuff, the government of Guam has to do its job, because if you don't, then you're going to have a too segregated community.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, Doc, we don't want to just, fire everybody in Gulf Guam because the private sector is not working.
No, you don't want to fire everybody, but times have come where you have to look at what you think is essential to keep the government going. You don't need one person that's non-essential and just sitting there, and making money that we don't really need. You have to run an efficient government.
Right. That I agree with. I mean, we saw that there were so many agencies that were non-essential that were closed during the COVID, and they were so non-essential that they could shut down, and their directors could go work at a quarantine hotel for, a couple months, and there was no impact. It's not like, people were crying, "Where's the Guam Energy office? We can't do anything with the Guam." Nobody.
Right.
It was negligible. So you're right. I mean, there are places to trim, but I just don't like it when we talk about trimming the rank and file, because you could trim 3 rank and files, and that equals the pay of 1 unclassified director. So I just say, let's cut. You want to cut the fat? Well, the real fat is at the top. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you got a point. But we always saying that, hey, we can't renovate labor and delivery. It costs $10 million. But then again, you have a payroll over $10 million of some worker that's not essential. What's better for women and children, for generations to come, or you're going to keep supporting a fat government?
Yeah, Doc, and it really seems like the gov is just firm on the no furloughs, and I feel like, I mean, she could have thrown the private sector a bone and maybe been a little more empathetic and said it in a way that was sweeter than it sounded.
Yeah, you have to overhaul the government system. You can't run a fat bloated government and then expect the private sector to keep the government afloat.
Right. Well, I think there was an attempt, I think, when they tried to get rid of deputy directors, but that didn't work out.
Yeah.
So
and then the legislature caved on it because it's a Democrat governor. So, I mean,
I really don't understand this positions in the government system anyway. But, getting back to, how to run a government more efficient, you have to think, put on your business hat and start looking at how do you save Guam money? Because ultimately, if you save government money, you also save the private citizen, the working people money, because there'll be less taxation to support below the government. Yeah.
Man, Doc, you've been a bit. I want to switch gears just a tad bit here, but you've been really busy. I mean, you're one of these docs. Like, people have been delivering babies. COVID came. Yeah. It's not like they said, no more babies.
I've been on Guam for nearly 24 years. In August. I arrived at the U.S. Naval Hospital Guam in August of 1996. And the first baby, ironically, I did not deliver at Naval Hospital. I delivered at GMH because at that time, Dr. Chris Perez called me and said, "Hey, Tom, listen, you're coming in from Hawaii. We'd like you to moonlight for us on the weekend." So the first baby I delivered actually was helping Dr. Chris Perez doing a C-section. So it's a long journey to get here, but I never really wanted to come to Guam.
Well, thanks.
No, I'm serious. I hated it. I hated the idea like I'm active duty orders and said report to the island of Guam. I had to look it up on the internet to see what it is. And at that time, the internet took 5 minutes to log in. It's like, and when I log in, all I got was brown tree snakes. So the plan was 2 years and then take off to any of duty place of my choice. But I kind of fell in love with the island. I think the best thing about Guam is the people, the patients, because they're really appreciative of what you do.
Right.
So I've been here ever since then, and trying to help out the community as best as I can.
Doc, has anybody named their baby Corona or COVID yet?
No, I don't think so. But
any 19s? Anybody named their baby 19 or?
I can, Felix Cabrera, bless his heart. He has all these ridiculous projections, right? I can tell you the real numbers and projections coming up in December, January, February, maybe even March.
We're going to see a surge, right? We're going to see a surge.
Yeah, it's going to be a big surge. Well, at least in my practice. Yeah. Because a lot of my...
Surge of babies, guys. Surge of babies, okay? Not COVID.
Yeah, so it's going to be busy at GMH. But we do a good job at GMH. I think the obstetrics and gynecology aspect is probably the heartbeat of that hospital. Right. And I think what they should appreciate is all these new babies coming along. And certainly we have some tragic results, but very small. The morbidity is small. But then again, we have thousands of babies being born at GMH, and that's good. We need those happy times and happy moments. And I still like delivering babies. So I posted yesterday that, somebody asked me last night, when am I going to retire? I kind of laughed at it. I go, geez, I'm still the youngest board-certified OB from Guam. I mean, geez. I until the time comes where I can maybe find a replacement, and that's even hard because it's so hard to recruit. And that's where the governor and the Guam can help us with, is the recruitment aspect of it, because they even increase the GRT even on the healthcare providers. And, the hotel industry, the entire industry, has a, GRT or QC waiver for the entire industry. And that's fair because you don't favor one hotel or the other. Healthcare, if they're really concerned about healthcare, how to build it up, then you can consider in an industry-wide waiver for the entire healthcare community. And then that'll help us create the funding so we can recruit more qualified doctors for Guam. And we don't have to worry about this coronavirus crisis or pandemic crisis.
Right.
We're worried about shortages because you can build 2,000 bed hospital. You can build, the Navy or military have 2,000. Who's going to staff that? You can only staff maybe 100 beds. That's it. Right. 2,000 beds just for show. But you can't staff that. No way.
Doc, we're running against the top of the hour here, but I wanted to, because we chatted briefly yesterday about this health insurance choice bill, so I haven't really heard from a doctor. What's your take on it?
I think I spoke up on it before. I think what we need to do is to allow people to have the choice, because I think the private sector is small enough where you can, we're going to isolate our HR to just Cowboy Select Care or Take Care of Aetna. But in a government system, it's so big that I think allowing choices is good. And let me tell you why that's the case, why you need to allow people to have a choice. It's because some doctors will contract with certain insurance companies. And if you want to come and see me, for example, let's imagine you're a woman. Okay, you're a lady, you want to see me.
I'm imagining.
Yeah, if you're a woman, you want to come to see me. If I don't contract with Aetna, then you can't see me. That's not a choice. So you want to make sure that you have choices of insurance companies, so you have your own choice of doctors that you can go to, and that's important. I don't see going with one insurance company is going to save much money for GovGuam. I think they should diversify and allow all the insurance companies, not just two, all the insurance companies should be able to participate in a GovGuam contract. That's my opinion.
All right. Well, thanks, Doc. 705. Yeah, we just got a letter from someone who's at St. Luke's now that came in. Yeah. So we'll share this coming up in a little bit. But still hearing the horror stories, really, about people under this sole source health insurance contract. So we'll share that. Hey, thanks, Doc. Though, you delivering any babies today? What's it look like for you?
I don't know. I've been busy. You see my Facebook. But it's all good. I still enjoy what I do. And plus, I'm here alone. My wife's off island. She's stuck. All right, so what am I going to do all day? So bring on the babies. Bring on the patients.
Bring it on!
Yeah, but don't scream too loud.
Is there no one else? Okay, Doc.
I still enjoy what I do.
Good for you.
Keep on going.
Yeah.
All right, take care.
We enjoy what you do, too. Wash your hands, Doc. Okay. Right on. 706. Good morning on you. We're KUAM FM Agotni, Guam. We'll take a short break, and coming back, we'll hear from the Mayor's Council of Guam. Next, they had a big meeting yesterday, so we're going to bring on the Vice President of the Council to kind of unpack the things that were discussed at 7:07. Good morning, Guam.
Subway restaurants across the island.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus, gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 virtual Relay for Life Guam.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
It's not always easy trying something new. Sometimes you have to help your loved ones along. Nana is so used to her weekly trips to the bank that going online can be a little scary for her. But her grandson knows that banking online is safer and easier. So he's teaching her how to get started using Bank of Guam's online banking videos. Teaching is one way to show our loved ones we care. Keep your family safe at home and show them how to bank online. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Calling all graduating seniors. Join us by showing your class pride in the celebration caravan you deserve through the island's major thoroughfares. KUAM and its partners want to recognize your accomplishments and help celebrate this pivotal moment in your lives. To participate, email promotions@KUAM.com and let's get this show on the road. Special thanks to ABC Stores Guam and The Dungeon.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
keeping you informed. KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 virtual Relay for Life Guam.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
A little bit of Kaylee and Kiku Hagu. 7:15. The show proudly brought to you by Calvo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., the Bank of Guam, Coast 360, and ITE. It is containing COVID. Go ahead, Bree.
No.
It's all right. You know, guys, Bree is a singer. She doesn't really like to put it out there, though.
Shut up.
No, that was cute. You were telling me that, what was it, when you were young? This was a piece of info I had no idea. What your dad used to make you sing?
And my dad loves to play the piano. Actually, my entire family, they're very musical. And so my dad, he always played the piano every single morning on the weekends. And so he would call me down and he would make me sing all these songs with him while he played the piano. Like, and the sad part is I never really picked up playing the piano.
Yeah,
I learned a little bit.
But you picked up the ability to sing.
There's a difference. There's sing, right? You just
Sabrina
sing,
the
but then
Songbird.
there's like sing.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're
I'm
no
on the,
Beyonce, but you can sing. So what kind of songs?
No, I'm not gonna do it.
Come on, man.
No. Anyway,
who wants to hear Bree sing just a couple notes?
No.
Okay, all right, there you go. So
these are real old songs.
The Mayor's Council of Guam had their first meeting, and man, right off the bat, it was like Mayor Savares went off, right?
Yeah. So, they hadn't met since I think it was pre-COVID February. And so it was their first time to come together. And, they've been through a lot. They are, when a disaster happens, they're on the front line. They're the ones that, the governor and everybody relies on to be those first responders on the ground, aside from, of course, the police department and the fire department. And so they've been kind of left out of the loop, but it didn't matter. They did what they did and had to do and continue to do every day with checking in with their constituents, the Menemcos, delivering food, opening their doors, doing the mayor's verifications. And so it was their first time, I guess, to meet, and they just laid it all out on the line.
Yeah, so we're going to play this clip, but, I was talking with one of my friends yesterday, and, I was critical of the mayors before the COVID. I mean, you just hear so many complaints from residents about things not getting picked up, illegal dumping, and, and I really want to commend them for stepping up. You know what I mean?
You critical of the mayors?
No,
for me, I think, maybe there can be some blame, but at the same time, I always feel for them because of the fact that, like for illegal dumping, for example, in Darado and Jigo, right? Everybody gets the same amount of money in their budgets, and they just have much more stuff to clean up, and they don't get as much money to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was critical, but I think during the COVID, these mayors, they stepped up because they had to, and they weren't getting anything out of loop. They
don't get any double pay or anything like that.
And they were just, one of the things they were really consistent in saying is, hey, where's the transparency? I mean, they were right there at the beginning with the doctors and the senators calling for transparency from the administration. And even still, and talking with, Mayor Tavares, for example, it still seems like there are some communication barriers or breakdowns. So we're going to play this. It's Darado Mayor Melissa Tavares, and this is from the Mayor's Council of Guam meeting yesterday, where they were discussing how did it get into this.
I'm not even sure. Adriana said that she got there, and then all of a sudden, it started, and then Mayor Tavares.
All of a sudden.
Yeah, so she stood up and she started recording. Her and Byron.
Here you go. It's your Mayor of Darado, Melissa Tavares.
Whatever's going on down in the legislature, none of us have ever asked, are we getting 10%, 15%, or 25%? Okay? That has never came into our minds about how much percent are we getting to take care of our people. Who cares? I even told my staff, we do food distribution. I said, I better not see a government of Guam employee in this line, because the government of Guam employees continue to get their 80 hours, at least their 80 hours. Somebody said, oh, did you guys get COVID? We don't ask about that. If it comes, great, because you know what? It goes back to the people. But none of us here who take care of our people, whether it be delivering the school meals to the children, because the meals, we have to go pick it up in another village in most cases. But none of us has ever asked, are we getting 10% or 15%? We have never stopped working. We have been out there to take care of our people, whether they be the kids that needed food or the ones that line up to pick up boxes of fruits. We have never questioned, why is that village getting this and I'm not getting it? If we have it, we share it. So if anybody had any questions about what the mayors are doing out there, the mayors and their staff have never stopped working. One thing, even we said maintenance staff, you know what? We're not going to wait till COVID is done to cut the grass or pick up the trash or pick up the dead dog that was hit on Route 16, even if I move it to the winning side. Okay? We have never questioned anything. We continue to come, we continue to serve, and we continue to take care of our people. Every public assistance program that everybody can apply for, anybody can apply for, mayor's verifications are required. whether it be the cash assistance, whether it be the pandemic unemployment program, when revenue tax opened for driver's license and the Guam ID renewals, and most recently, for the quarantine facilities. You need a mayor's verification if you don't have proof that you live in Dennyton or in wherever village you live in. So every public assistance program that is available to anybody, every step of the way needs a mayor's verification. And we don't ask questions. We just do it so that our people can get the assistance that they need.
Oh.
Let it out, girl. Let it out.
Man, how come she just called the show yesterday and she was like, yeah, we're going to have a nice meeting and Agate's going to be serving and it's going to be really cool and we just really miss each other and we did our social distancing in Atlanta. Well,
We've got the tables and we're going to have everybody seated 6 feet apart.
Like, where did that come from? I like it, though.
Yeah.
Feisty mayor. Feisty. Man, feisty how mayor.
You know, good on her, though. I mean, they've been busting their ass. And so, good for them.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, we haven't seen them complaining about 10, 15, 25% differential, which is exactly what you heard out of these quarantine angels. Quarantine shepherds. Quarantine saviors. What are we calling you guys this week? Quarantine messiahs. Quarantine Jesuses. Quarantine Gandhis.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, we deserve to pay. Which is it.
I'm waiting for the medals.
You sound stupid. You just sound stupid because you're getting paid $80,000 and you're delivering towels to rooms. And I know there's some risk involved, but it's not the same risk as the National Guard or nurses and doctors. And I know this ship has sailed already, but it hasn't really, because we still have some outstanding FOIAs out there to find out which directors got paid how much for the COVID differential, right? Because it's over now, but remember, they were, I think there was something that we had got where it was told to us by Adelup that they would be in the middle, which is the 15%.
Yeah. I don't even remember now.
Yeah,
20, 15, 10.
Well, you could just replay the clip. Mayor Savars knows.
Yeah. And like she said, she didn't ask. They weren't asking for anything. They were just doing what they do every time there's a disaster. They step up.
Right.
And this crisis, they went above and beyond. I mean, they had so much to do. Everything always goes to the mayors. And they rose to the challenge.
And we're going to bring on one of the mayors now here, the vice president of the Mayor's Council of Guam, who was seated right next to the president.
Thank you. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. How did that happen? What happened? What led up to that?
Mayor Robert Hoffman, everyone.
You know, it's. I guess it's a lot of criticisms has been happening lately of a lot of the mayors saying, you know, what are we doing? Just because people don't see what we do, we're doing quite a lot of myriad of things, and you know,
who's criticizing them?
I guess people on social media every once in a while, and then sometimes you get the regular trolls and fake internet stuff that are just putting on their page or sending them messages. So she just got into a passion role of just, she was practically cheering, and she's been out there, a lot, 7 days a week, a lot, and she cares for her elderly mom and her dad, and so she's very concerned about Corona, but she also has a job to do, and we all do, and our staff do. So it's never once did it cross our minds like, hey, what percentage and what rate are we at, and who's going to do this for us and who's going to do that for us. So we always say if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, hey, we're kind of doing our jobs here. But to be recognized somewhere in any legislation or law would be nice. Yes, they're unclassified, but they rise to the challenge. Typhoon, earthquake, disaster, road closure, you name it. All agencies, like Angel said, every agency relies on the mayor, and we touch all agencies, and they help us from DOE with the grab and go and distribution of the educational materials to DPW with helping roads, and we're lending our equipment to the National Guard and the police. So.
Hey, I know even the media, you guys are like the first ones we go to. If something's happening somewhere, we call the mayors.
There you go. So, it is hard. And, it just, yesterday's meeting was a long time coming. We've tried to figure out how we can best do it moving forward. We like meeting in person. It's always great because we've grown fond of each other for the past 4 years almost. So, but we've also talked about using technology, being able to do that just in case things get worse or make a turn for the worse, that we're able to do Zoom and other things. So as part of working with OTEC, the Office of Technology, we were able to kind of get that up to par with the rest of them. So we look forward to maybe having that Zoom meeting later on. Just one as a way to test it out, and then we can also have more people be involved and watch and listen to what we do.
We had a comment here from Cynthia. Mayor Savars is telling the truth. The mayor's office does deliver commodities, and Mayor Hoffman is also a frontliner. Ever so often, the frontliners were out there suffering and sacrificing, and there was Mayor Hoffman dropping off plates of food at my house. So whenever it came to inspections for Agora, they were always willing to help out as well. So
thank you. Yes, and it's the little things that we don't go there. We don't bring a camera crew and take a picture with us and saying, "Here, look, I'm giving water."
You don't do like a nice commercial?
Yeah, look at me. Yeah,
look at these thousands of people lining up for federal aid, and look at me taking the credit for it. Hey.
Yeah, we did our fruit distribution yesterday, thanks to Pacific Unlimited, the USDA, and Matson. We did our fruit distribution, and it was without any pomp and circumstance. We did it. Our people came out. And move on to the next thing. That's kind of what our thing is. We're focused, and we just go on to the next one. We're not there for the photo op, or we're not carrying a Bible in front of a burning church. We're just like, you know what? Do our job and go.
By any chance, are you guys getting any CARES Act funding? Any of the mayors? Was that discussed? Or,
yeah, so there is a request for that. As you know, most mayors' offices are very open, very tight. So it's asking for those desk shields and getting the proper PPEs. That's something we've been getting. We've been getting a few from Homeland and from a lot of donors out there's been doing that as well. But as we move forward in trying to kind of find some sense of normalcy, we're getting more requests for verifications and for.
What about laptops? Are you guys getting some laptops, some PPEs?
We did. I know there was a portion that we did request for some type of materials, but it's hard to be able to work from home. You can't really work from home and be a mayor. I mean, some mayors can't work from home.
No, but at least in your office, because people are going to be, they're going to want to apply for PUA or anything like that, or if any other situation arises in the future.
Labor is working on that end, but
with the libraries.
Yes, with the libraries. I know they were up in Jotnia the other day, trying to figure that out as well. I know that the mayor-elect Bill Kenya already had the Jotnia Library repainted and kind of set up. I mean, hit ground running Monday morning. He was there making sure everything was kind of getting set. So it's in that realm, and so we don't know which responsibility will fall under. So sometimes the other agencies apply for it and then help give it to us on loan, or sometimes they actually give it to us. So for mayors specifically, a lot of our fuel charges jumped because we were delivering the Manamco meals to their homes. I mean, we have 163 that we're taking care of, and so our gas consumption skyrocketed because we're sending every vehicle every which way. So we down all the vehicles at 11 a.m. and they're out delivering until about 12:30, 1 o'clock. So it's a nonstop. So our employees take later lunches, but they love doing it because these people are practically our family. These Manamco we tell them, you survived the war. We're going to make sure Corona doesn't take you.
Right.
It's our job now to do this. So they really appreciate all the little things that we do.
Do you guys keep receipts for all of that? Is there any way you could turn it in for any sort of?
It is tracked on our. It's from our regular purchase orders, and it is tracked. And some of us have done it where we're paying out of our pockets in there, and getting reimbursements from the government are pretty hard. But we do it as a labor of love, and two, because if we don't do it, nobody will. So we just, our employees have been very understanding and accommodating and compassionate, and we're just asking them to just open the doors and to assist people, and they're like, how do we know if they have Corona or not? And we don't have the temperature gauges, we don't have those things like that. I said, we'll try our best. Wear the masks, wear the gloves, and try our best. So we're all trying to figure it out in the mayor's offices. There's no one way to do it. We're trying to get our guidance as much. But, that's...
We got another comment here, Mayor, from Chamarita writes, and our mayor, Robert Hoffman, has his people in the office doing things, especially when the loss of a loved one is laid to rest. He made sure that his people provided till the end. His workers will find ways to get work done. kudos, Mayor Robert Hoffman and crew. Our friend Glenn writes in, the mayors and their staff and their families should be commended for all their help to the community.
Thank you. I mean, we do it, and it's nature of the job, and we do it because we want to see this through. We want to survive this, and things don't stop. Grass still grows. People will still pass on for whatever reason, and these are our known villagers. I mean, we didn't even have a state funeral for Justice Seguenza, and he's my resident here in Sinajana, and there's a lot of things. It's hard for grieving families. We've missed, people have postponed their weddings. I've had baptisms, so I was telling the church, I said, this is going to be a long set of weekends to not have nonstop memorial services and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at.
Are you hearing anything about that, Mayor, for people who may have passed during the COVID and then they had the very, very too small ceremony at the cemetery? Are you hearing anybody, family members who maybe are now that we're allowed to gather up to 25, thinking of doing a ceremony?
Yes. I'm actually on the church bereavement committee, so yes, there is families that are planning this. Right now the norm is very few family members go to the funeral homes. They just look at the body, prepare. Father will go there, say a few prayers, go to the cemetery, then they'll intern the body, and then everything's kind of put on a waiting, hold, and pattern, and saying, okay, once this is all done, you can have the memorial mass here. And I think most families want to do that because KUAM people want to help. They want to be there with you.
They want to give the chinchuli. What kind of chinchuli can you get with a 10-person funeral?
I was teasing my nephew that because I said, I heard you're having your graduation. He goes, yeah, we're only allowed 3 people. I said, invite the 3 people that'll give you money.
Right. invite your top 3 Ninos.
I said, forget your mom and dad. They're not going to give you anything. I said, call your Ninos.
Okay, Nino number 6, we're taking you because I know you got a good job. Nino number 3, you never stopped working during the COVID. You're invited.
And all you got to do is lay on that guilt trip. Out of all the 3 people, I chose you. So I hope you value coming to my graduation. So, what's the price of that? What's the price to get? He was laughing because he has 5 siblings and he can only take his mom, his dad, and 1 sibling. So I said, "How are you going to do this?" He goes, "Oh, the 2, sisters agreed to not go." So, just as so there's no family fighting and who feels better or not. So but that's the situation our kids are put into, and so.
Has there been a thaw, Mayor, with you guys' relationship, if any, with Adelup? Because we know that it's been a little. I don't know how to classify it. I want to say almost non-existent because you guys have been doing your thing. They've been doing their thing. We remember all the calls about the transparency you made a bunch of those calls. So how is it now?
It's a lot better that they're focused on programs, restarting the government things. So we've had that discussions about the stray dogs. We've had the discussions about the junk removal. We've had the discussions about, BPEs and what we can do. So it's been good in that direction. So we're like, okay, this is what we want to hear. I mean, if public health still giving us issues about, where locations, okay, so give us some good news that we can help our people with. And so those are the things that we discussed yesterday at our council meeting. And, that was some of the things. And then some of the major things that were brought up were about the FAS population and compact impact and things we can do. And then Mayor McDonald was very adamant about asking the courts to come because of these book and releases and, people who've burglarized numerous times and, have set the school on fire or done major crimes that other places they would be locked up. But, next day is there. And so some of our neighborhood watch, a lot of our neighborhood watchers are feeling that, they're in danger. And they said, well, but why bother then if this is just going to happen? And apparently it affects the tourist industry too, because some of these people that commit crimes against tourists are right out in the streets. So these tourists really don't get justice because either the courts are backlogged by 2 or 3 years.
But you heard, Mayor, one of the positives out of the COVID is crimes against tourists have decreased.
Yes, dramatically, yes. So
Adelup should put that on a commercial. Under our administration, crimes against tourists decreased during the COVID.
So people are, but we've seen a rise in littering in the beaches, and I don't know if you saw the picture from Pago Bay last night.
Oh
God, unbelievable!
Where's that? Did you see that, Bree?
No, but I know. I mean,
Send it over, Mayor.
Dr. Okamoto has been talking about.
Not Gus Guam, yeah.
Yeah, so we're actually looking at that. There's something been in planning. Governor Gutierrez has mobilized quite a few people and agencies to work together. I think we're targeting June 28th. I'll let them roll that out, but we're going to try to reopen the island as it reopens and refocuses on some of those tourism bubbles and those safe areas. It's really just sprucing up, cleaning up. So there's going to be a major push and focus from both the private sector, the civic groups, the government agencies. It's kind of like an Operation Reopen Guam kind of thing, and what better way to do that than just working together? So, and it's interesting to have Governor Gutierrez and Jerry Perez at the helm and a whole bunch of other people. Yesterday when I attended the meeting, it felt like a cabinet meeting. I'm like, wow, these are people that I would normally not see at the table, but who brought them together?
Yeah.
Right. So,
is this a meeting of GVB?
In GVB, yes. And so it's nice to see everybody willing, and I think the takeaway from that was nobody in that room said, it's not my job.
Right.
We all agreed that we're going to do this together. We're going to find a way. Cutting the roadways, the grass cutting and the roadways for a lot have stopped because of COVID.
Right.
Either the contract had to be reduced because there's no money to fund that anymore. So it's everybody else stepping up. So it's how do we mobilize this massive amount of labor and logistics and supply. And so, it's in the works. In the next 3 weeks, that's going to happen. And we're going to just start seeing some things. And we told them those are the things that will bring back that sense of pride. And, one of the things that Parks and Rec's director yesterday was talking about was enforcement. And, I shot right back with everybody. I said, someone needs to tell me when was somebody successfully prosecuted for littering or junk piling, and never. And I said, there's your problem. They're going to continue to do it because they know no one's ever been successfully prosecuted for it. Mm-hmm. There's no major penalty. You can make the penalty $1 million. They're going to be like, here you go. I have 90 days to correct it and 60 days to do this correction action and this and that. So, whether it be something that needs to be changed in the law or the Attorney General. So, I said on the side, I said, how you make people not litter? Withhold their tax refund.
There you go.
You tie the fine in that it can be withheld.
Mm-hmm.
If they're found, then they'll withhold it there. I mean, because the end of the day is that people end up having to pay to get this removed. Either be a private contractor or the government pays through the tipping fees or whichever else like that. Because there has to be some solution in this. I understand people for trash services. It is hard. It is hurting. It's not considered a priority. So find a way to do it where all the island now has to shift this out. My solution at the time was attach it to the water bill. Just charge everybody $5 extra, then give everybody free trash service, the whole island. Mm-hmm. Could that cover it? Mm-hmm. Because while they're saying, there's only 17,000 customers or 20,000 customers, there's 170,000 people on this island.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where's their trash going?
Mm-hmm. So is that what we're looking at on the 28th? Is to have this one day to everybody entire island get together and clean up Guam?
Yep.
Wow.
Yes, and that's the date they're shooting for, and then I think it'll just be within days after that. So, everyone has their marching orders, all these other different agencies and groups and nonprofits. The chamber was there, GHR was there, the Guam Women's Chamber was there. It was the private sectors. They're going to reach out to everybody to, hotels that have medians in front of them, adopt them, get them clean, painted. It's the standardized paint. It's procuring the correct colors for all the pavilions. I think it's like a terracotta color and a beige. And then it's, specific areas. All those that have adopted highways, get out there. All those companies that have adopted parks, get out there.
Wait, who was this? Was this a GVB meeting, or it was just a meeting that Governor Gutierrez called
it's a
with different stakeholders?
Destination Management Committee of GVB.
We're getting Jerry Perez on at 8:15, so we could also ask him about it too.
Yeah, so it's Destination Management, and it's just getting everybody. But this was in line of the vision of if we're going to restart the economy and jumpstart it, what better way than putting our best foot forward. In the past 3-4 months, water, things have gotten moldy and maintenance has fallen by the wayside for whatever reason. And now it's just saying, let's just go out there and clean it. A lot of people have been doing it at their own homes. Now it's time to do it for the rest of us. Take island pride. And our thing was, there was no tourists, so that's not tourist trash. That's not
tell me about it.
But our own. And so, that's just things we're going to clean up from our own people. Right. And we just find a way to kind of do this. And so, and I don't know if you've seen Paseo, but we saw pictures yesterday, and pretty much many of the pavilions have become homes for the homeless, and they've put tarps around it and cornered it off and made it, they're squatters there. And we just got to find a way to address that too.
There was a comment we had here from they said they're a homeless person, and you're right, they'd all been in that Paseo area and they were told to leave yesterday, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Hey, send us those pictures,
and speaking of homeless, was there any talk about the homeless shelter?
The homeless shelter in which? The mayor's council or the GVB one?
Either one. I mean, has anybody heard anything about if we're still going to move forward with providing some sort of a shelter for them?
No, but not in the mayor's council one. We did talk about issues and what are we noticing other residents falling through the cracks, and for what other reasons, other things out there that are, there are programs that people are not availing themselves to. And
you're on the homeless coalition, right? Mayor?
I'm on the homeless ministry board.
Oh, I see.
For the Archdiocese of Agana, but I'm also I'm the president.
Well, you're on all the fun ones, homeless and bereavement.
There you go, and the one from yes, and Gumamami. So I have tied up, but they're near and dear to my heart. We're constantly out there, and we're seeing it. So we've seen an increased people of coming to the kitchen, asking for food, getting the commodities on a regular basis when we issue them. And then for Gumamami's side, we run a drop-in center in Sabuning, and we've seen a rise in that too. And some of the things, our discussion with a lot of them is transportation is probably one of the biggest things of why people are not getting to the shelters. Mm-hmm. And, our solution was just get 3 of those vans that are sitting down at GSA and just give one to Salvation Army, give one to, Catholic Social Services, and give one to Gumamami. And so they can transport people to the shelters that are already there, because some of the shelters are not at capacity. And for whatever reason, their people are not there, and it's because they can't get their stuff there and get in there, and they don't have the money for the public transportation. So there are gaps on what needs to be done, because in our discussion with the VSO's officers, some of the homeless want to go to the shelter, but they have no way, and the VSOs can't take them on their bikes and other things. So we're trying to find a way to kind of just close that loop.
Right on, Mayor.
Well, again, thank you guys for what you guys have been doing. I know you guys haven't stopped working. That's a fact. So
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, it's always a joy to kind of just be able to share our little story here and there, but I will send you that pictures and let you see for yourselves.
I know that we had asked the governor if she was planning a special recognition for the quarantine saviors, and she had answered yes. So we're going to try and get you in line right after them for maybe a commendation, resolution.
COVID heroes.
Give you like a COVID trophy or something.
It's all right. I think the heartbreaking one is the memorials for liberation. A lot of people are looking at it, and so I think the discussion yesterday is we're probably looking around December
nice.
8th.
Good.
To move back everything?
Move back all the memorials to around the December time frame. So, there's the day that Guam was attacked, so we'll probably lead up to it in that manner. Instead of that, just for the safety of everybody on this end. So we've kind of agreed to kind of postpone those memorials.
Nice. I'm going to go try and find, I know we've got a lot of the memorials, because I think we went to almost every single one one year. So, I'll reach into our archives and see if we could rerun some of those.
Yeah, we're thinking like a throwback liberation thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that we discuss is, it's just telling the story of what happened there, and making sure people don't forget. That's the things that some of the mayors are afraid of. We missed this year. Next year, it's not that it's not important, but next year it could be something else. So how do we be able to tell the story, keep the memory of those survivors, if there are survivors that are there? How do we tell their story, and then tell the story of the actual place of what happened there? So we appreciate KUAM's and help in telling that story.
Yes, of course. It's really emotional, because I went to a lot of them, and I think it was the first time I went to almost every single one, and you don't walk out of there without crying.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And a
You're
lot of our
just
war
moved.
survivors.
Even a tough guy like me, I just can't help it.
Yeah, there was one story. There was one man. I think it was Mr. Togas. He told his story, and oh man, I was in tears, and I was like, why am I crying? Why am I crying? Just that you just felt everything that through his words of what happened in that manner, and it's just something that you don't think could ever happen, but it did here to our own people. So one of the things that we noticed yesterday as mayors too, and I don't know if you've actually tracked it, but the war claims, normally they're only hearing 100 at a time. They actually heard 100, so they heard 450 claims in their May meeting. So they're trying to really push out the payment compensation. So if you just go to the Foreign Settlement Act, I was like, wow, this is the largest number I've seen them do, and so I guess they're really trying to just get that all out.
Yeah, I remember we had Doug Domenech on the show, the Assistant Interior Secretary, and he said, yeah, they're looking at ways that they can push out a lot of these payments because they know people are hurting. So it looks like that's on its way to fruition. So thank you, Doug, for that.
Yeah.
Okay, Mayor, we're going to run because we got Guam EPA on.
No problem.
Right
Appreciate it. Thank you for the
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Wash your hands.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye. All right, Sinanya, Sin City in the house. Let's keep it on the phones here. A lot of talk about recycling and illegal dumping, and I wanted to bring Nick Lee on from the Guam Environmental Protection Agency. Good morning, Nick.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
There was one thing that the mayor said about tell me one person that's ever been prosecuted for illegal dumping or littering. Do you know of any case?
Prosecuted, I don't know if I would say prosecuted, but there have been people that weren't let off the hook as easily as past practices.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, I can recall one, and that's the one in Jigo. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah.
You're talking about the Titano case, right?
Yeah. I don't even know whatever happened with that because that was just in and out of court for years.
And then
I
also
think there was some summary judgment handed down on the defendant, and there was a writ of mandate to try to go after the individual's assets, but that did not yield anything, in terms of compensation towards the government. So that remains ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
The last I checked.
Yeah. Do you have any information on what the mayor was talking about this launch of this Reopen Guam and let's go clean up everything? Are you guys involved with that?
You're referring to Mayor Hoffman's conversation earlier. That's the first time that I've heard that. If they did talk about it at yesterday's mayor's council meeting, that must have been when I stepped out. I attended a bit of that just to give the mayor's council and the mayors an update on the status of their recycling funds appropriation for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean
that was a GVB meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
I was not wasn't part of that.
Mm-hmm. So what's up with the recycling revolving fund? Are they going to get their money or what?
That's the plan, and as I indicated to the mayors yesterday, the MOA is very close to completion on our end. We did complete a legal review of that. I did tell the executive director, Angel Sablan, that he should be expecting a call from us to sign off on it. As soon as our administrator clears it. The next steps would be for budget to clear it, and that goes through BBMR. Then it would go to the AG's office, and then finally to the governor's office for signature. There are some inner workings that will take place during that signature routing process. We do have to get a work request in with DOA to make sure that the accounts are set up and that there's no lag in terms of getting the funds deposited into the mayor's coffers. So we are motivated to get them the remainder of what was originally given to them in FY20. I'm sorry, in FY18. So I don't know if you recall, 34th KUAM legislature gave the mayors about $2.1 million out of the agency's recycling revolving fund appropriation, and then a couple of things that happened along the way. I hear it from the mayors that the response for Mankud, the response for dengue, and now this COVID response has kind of presented some challenges for them to fully exhaust the funding. So, you couple that with some of the administrative issues that we brought up with them earlier this year and part of late last year in terms of certain forms and documentation, not being provided or not being correctly filled out properly, causing further delays. So we've worked those things out. We're expected to give them the remainder of about $466,000 from that. A couple of the mayors were not shy about expressing their frustration on the waiting game, and The agency does. We do appreciate our partnership with the mayors. To get the cleanup program going. I did bring up the fact that our board authorized up to $900,000 for the mayor's island-wide environmental cleanup program come FY21, and that process for the MOAs was actually started much earlier. So we're doing what we can to limit the delays, so that the money can be used for cleanup, and go a long way towards beautifying the island.
Did you say the last time they got funding from the
sign off and certify that the funds were used in accordance with the agreement that was put in place alongside with what the laws dictate, and that's a big liability, especially when you're talking about a couple $1 million.
Right. So they were using the money for things that weren't within what the law had mandated. And an audit came out and showed that they were in fact not using it?
No, we just needed documentation to be done a certain way, and some villages were better about it than others. Angel and I did talk about I guess kind of a refresher course with mayoral staff in terms of what's required to fill out these island-wide environmental cleanup data forms. So there's a pretty strict checks and balances, because we're not just going to take the mayor's office's word on the type of waste that was recycled and the volume of that waste. We're even going to check with the recycler. So a lot of these things are requirements that we place on the mayors. Our recycling officer works very hard to ensure that these things are done. But administratively, it didn't work out the way we hoped. So when we needed to reconcile invoices and purchase orders, and most other documentation that are associated with procurement, we weren't comfortable with some of the things that were being turned into us. So we've worked out most of that.
That's a nice way to put it.
I know, you're just being nice.
We weren't very comfortable with the way that thing looked.
Well, if you've got to sign off and certify over $2.1 million, I mean, that's a big liability.
Yeah.
We all don't have any superpowers, or what? We can't just flex that.
Superpowers route, no signatures, no problem.
Not that I'm aware of.
No signed agreements, no problem.
Yeah. And if you've ever spent a few minutes in the room with Walter Leon Guerrero, you may not want to see him off too much.
Right. Yeah. Nick, and talking with the mayors, what they want to be able to do is to use this revolving recycling fund to pick up like illegal dumping, right?
Or it has to be white goods.
Right, and I know that's what it has to be, and I'm not even sure what the law says or whatever, but that's what they say. They're like, man, illegal dumping is a bigger problem than some of these abandoned vehicles. I mean, and some of the mayors. But we're going to pop up this.
So it can only be for abandoned vehicles, or it can be for the white goods?
No, it could be for white goods. It could be for tires. It could be for...
What about toilet bowls?
No, I don't think so.
And bags of trash can't be used for bags of trash, right?
Your regular household waste is excluded from this, and that's in line with what the law dictates.
Right.
So it has to be something that the legislature has to change. Yeah. But, I mean, a recycling revolving fund, you would think that it would be for recycled goods. Household trash.
That's legislatively the priority group for waste that is eligible to be used for disposal alongside these funds. Yeah, that would have to change. If that's going to happen, that's beyond the scope of the agency.
Right. We're going to pop up a pic here, Nick. I don't know if you were watching our Facebook live feed, but this comes to us from Mayor's Pago Bay. I don't know if you saw this. It was going around last night.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, there's a new mountain in Pago Bay.
Where at Pago Bay?
Right. Well, if you go to the beach area, there's a house there, and it looks like they pulled into that beach area and just dumped. Man, it's there you go. Yeah.
Oh, isn't this area, Nick, where there was actually a cleanup
Right.
We went there. We did a whole live stream.
Yeah. Guess what? There's going to be another cleanup.
I remember this. Walt was there, the director.
What's that,
Nicholas
Bettina?
was there. This was the cleanup that we went to. We did a whole live stream, and it's terrible because once you get out into the beach side and then you go to the right. Do you remember that, Nick? Can't remember.
That was an Earth Day cleanup performed by the agency.
Yeah. So this is the same area.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of trash.
I mean, Nick, I remember before the COVID, how much time did we spend together bonding over illegal dumping, going out to these different sites? I mean, God, I did about 10 Facebook Lives on illegal dumping.
And by the way, did you guys ever track down the hotel? Was it the hotel owner? The one where the abandoned parking lot in Tumon, where a lot of the homeless people stay?
David Sue.
Yeah.
The last information that I have about that is Glenn St. Nicholas, our solid waste program manager. He was able to get in touch with him through email. I'm not sure if anything was officially served to, in terms of a hard copy. I can follow up with him after we get off the line, just to see where that's at.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, if we're really, if Mayor Hoffman is talking about we're going to do this whole reopen Guam, let's clean everything up. That's one area that really needs to be cleaned up, and that's in the heart of Tumon.
It's just dirty, big just beer cans everywhere. The rats.
Yeah, so this is two properties. This is this is the Verona, and this is that parking garage structure.
And it's kind of behind Blue Lagoon Plaza.
Correct.
Yeah. And so what happens, Nick, and I'm sure you know, is there's a large group of homeless that they made that into a home for themselves. And I've gone by a couple times to shoot some video, and I'm kind of a big guy, but hearing 9, 10 homeless guys drinking beer at 2:00 in the afternoon, not exactly wanting to go up in there and be like, hey, anybody want to do an interview?
Sure, yeah, make you think twice. I can read that, right? And the indication that we've received from the mayors and my good buddy Mayor Alec has been very critical. He has shared that he's seen a rise in illegal dumping, particularly during the public health emergency.
Because people have time. They're cleaning up, their houses and their properties and
dirtying someone else's.
Right, and there's not that many people out on the road, so I guess they take advantage of doing this in the cover of night, or I guess in our case, so even in the cover of day,
right,
when people were just
staying home. Yeah.
Right.
Nick, we're up against the top of the hour, but hey, let's make this a weekly thing. Are you done with your JIC 311 duties, or are you still answering phones over there?
I just pulled into Homeland, so after we get off the line, I got to put on my my call center voice.
Well, hello. What are the kind of calls you get? Are people upset with you, or are they super
guys.
nice?
We're KUAM FM Agania Guam. It is 8:00. Thank you so much for joining us here for the KUAM News Takeover of Guam's favorite. It is containing COVID. I believe we are now on KUAM TV 11.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So good morning to our KUAM TV 11 viewers. We're wrapping up with Nick Lee, the PIO for the Guam Environmental Protection Agency right now, who's also been pulling a double duty at Homeland Security, answering phones. He's a telemarketer for 311. Nick, so what kind of calls are you getting now from people?
It's things about the people want updates, as to when they're going to get their economic impact payment, the stimulus checks. A couple of questions about filling out the PUA form online, and a lot of inquiries as far as traveling into Guam. So we do appreciate those calls, so we could limit the misinformation that's going around.
That's coming out from Adelup?
No, it's not coming out. No, not from Adelup.
Oh, not that misinformation, right?
From people that are bored, that want to send something out for no good reason.
The fake memes.
Right,
yeah.
Right. People are I get a whole mix of things. There's people that are frustrated. There's people that are understanding. There's people that just want answers. a lot of the information that we do put out, we work with our media partners, just like KUAM. And by the way, congratulations on the Murrow Award for social media.
Thank you, Nick.
Right. So but sometimes low tech is the best tech, or is the only tech that many people have, and so not everybody's going to be able to hop online, or nobody's not everyone is comfortable with the social media account.
Right.
So we work with that group primarily. There's not everybody's going to be able to get online. We understand that.
It's got to be frustrating, Nick, when you have, what do they call it, rapidly evolving information that can totally change 180 degrees with little to no notice. Like with this incoming traveler thing, were there some changes over the last few days with that, Bree?
Right. Well, according to Dr. Hoa, when he came on yesterday, because he said no one was expecting that Philippine Airlines was going to announce that they were going to start their international flights. And what that meant for Guam was that beginning June 12th, we were going to see twice weekly flights from Manila. And so I guess there was this emergency meeting that happened on Sunday, and then there was another meeting that happened on Tuesday night. And so they talked about it. And this came after just Friday, when the governor announced that effective June 1st, which was Monday, we were going to have this change in quarantine protocols where returning Guam residents would be allowed to home quarantine without a test. And so when we spoke with Dr. Hoa yesterday, he said because of the announcement of Philippine Airlines, and we're going to start seeing international flights returning to Guam, or an increase, that from now on, returning Guam residents coming from international international flights would have to have a PCR test within a week upon arrival in order to be allowed to home quarantine. Is that what you understand?
I'm going to preface this with this. There are always going to be challenges with communication. What are we on week 11, week 12 of response? I like things to be put in writing. I want an executive order, or I want some type of memo. And yeah, I was listening to the good doctor yesterday. But my interpretation of that was, these were all discussions. Based on how we're responding to controlling the virus. Now, until I get something, in writing that's official.
Nick, but how many times has the governor gone on a press conference and said something that wasn't in writing that you guys have had to deal with the avalanche? Going back to my favorite example is when you go around this weekend, maybe you're going to put a letter on your car, and if you're going to go to Payless, you put letter P. If you're going to go to the gas station, you put letter G. If you're going to go to the cockfight, you put letter C. And then what happened, right? You guys got flooded with all these calls. What letter do I put on my car to go?
Or CrossFit's open, but not gyms. What?
Dude. I would just unplug the phone if I was at the jig. I'd be like, you know what? You want to give out all this jig-jag information? Just unplug it.
No,
that's what they call it. It should be called jig for jig-jag because it's always changing.
Yes, it's not changing as quickly as it used to, and I think that's attributed to everybody doing their part, to control the spread. But something that we do remind our callers is that we're not a decision-making body over at the Joint Information Center. So the only thing that we can provide is what's been provided to us. And it's not without its challenges.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if there is a very pressing issue, we reach out and try to do a PSA with the media partners. But I will be here as long as the response requires me to. That goes the same with Jenna Blas, who's my partner in crime these days. Very, very capable.
I miss Jenna.
Yeah. Now you guys are doing the best you can do. You know what it reminds me of? The Batman movie with Jack Nicholson. Let's take it back here. Get the visual. Okay, ready? When Jack Nicholson went through the chemical accident and he went to the back alley plastic surgeon, and he asked the surgeon to fix him. And then when he was done, I mean, we all know how the Joker looked, and the surgeon had said something like, well, look at the tools I got to work with here. So that's how I look at it. You guys are dealt a bad hand, and then you got to like make sense of it to these people who are calling in a lot of times so frustrated because they can't get answers anywhere else.
So Jenna has to answer phones now?
She's been. I mean, we have 3 lines that are active. We try to catch all
God, 3 phone lines? That thing must be ringing nonstop all day.
Who else is answering?
It has slowed down. You know, we also have a representative from public health, you know, with us as well. So that's been very helpful.
Right.
I mean, there are certain times of the day where we're not able to keep up with the calls, and then there are parts of the days where, you know, it's not active at all. And I think that's been the case over maybe the last 3-4 weeks. You know, it wasn't like how it was early in the
right.
response. You know, there was when it was still fresh, and then you know, we understand a bit more about the virus and about, you know, the situation than we did back then. So
I think we all do.
Yeah.
Right. And who knows what we'll understand in the next couple of weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe by then you'll be an expert on the pandemic unemployment assistance. Nick, we got to run. We got to run, man. But thank you so much for your time, and wash your hands. And you know, if the phone ain't ringing there at the JIC, maybe we'll start calling. Keep you guys busy.
You're welcome to call Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, Chris Bree. So you guys be safe, and then we'll talk to you next time.
Okay, wash your hands. Okay, bye. Okay, Nick Lee, the Guam Environmental Protection Agency. Let's keep it on the phones here. I got a few minutes. Wanted to bring on the Republican Party Chair, former Senator Tony Atta. You guys had come out with a release yesterday.
Ouch! What a release!
Which prompted a reaction. You brought the Adelut Policy Director out of hiding to do a little snarky.
Whoa!
Last time I saw him was at that oversight hearing where he kept trying to speak for everybody. So.
Yeah.
You see that? That was funny. He tried to cut off Linda. We're talking about Carlo Branch, the Adelut Policy Director here. They had asked him, I think Senator Moylan, one of the Republicans, had asked Linda Pinko Donorsi about the whole digital signature thing. And there was a problem with her microphone when she was trying to answer. So I got the clip. We could play it, but we're running low on time. So anyway, and then Carlo Branch came and he's like, I think I can explain this in a spin doctor way. And they're like, and Linda was like, no, enough. They're asking me the question. Yeah. So anyway, let's just start with the release. So we're doing this pandemic unemployment assistance program, and basically the Republicans are saying typical administration use this as an opportunity to hire a bunch of political hacks, right? That's the gist of your release.
Well, you know, we just want to bring to light the hiring process and who's going to be hired into these positions with federal funds. You know, Chris, the issue is what are we going to do and how are we going to do things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the funding request that was submitted to the federal government, Department of Labor was estimating at 38,000 individuals will be impacted, and that they will be applying for the pandemic unemployment assistance program, and that they need these 31 people to be hired for temporary staff for the process initial application.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go down the line and look at the positions and the salaries for these positions, it's truly amazing. It's absurd to see what salaries they'll be paid.
Right. Let me just read it, okay?
Sure.
So project manager, 163,816. That's one. One assistant project manager, $150,503. 5 employment development worker twos, each one getting paid $88,778. They need to hire 10 administrative assistants, each getting paid $88,778.
Oh, damn. And this is including benefits.
Right, including benefits.
You got to say that because then they're going to hate it and say, oh, that's including
Not right,
benefits.
Including benefits. Yeah. All right, so customer service representatives, and they need to pick up 14 of these. $77,615.
Oh my God! I just felt all of my CSRs and the autonomous agencies and all over the government of Guam. I just felt their collective jaws drop.
Right. And that's just the 31 employees that they're hiring. So, because Carlo Branch is responsible. They got 60, whatever.
Can we just
the other ones are detailed from other government of Guam agencies.
Right, yeah.
But
let's talk about the response here. Senator Bree, you got the response?
Oh, Carlo Branch's response. Did you hear his response?
No, I didn't hear
We're gonna
hold on then.
read it to you, yeah.
Sure.
We just happen to have it here. Wow, look at that.
All right, so, quote, here are the facts. DOL's plan and budgeted expenses were approved by the U.S. Department of Labor. Of the 62 individuals needed to run the program, more than half are existing government employees on temporary detail from other agencies, and more than $450 million has been issued in combined federal and local aid since the beginning of this pandemic. The Trump administration understands what the Republican Party of Guam doesn't. The largest temporary federal program in Guam's history requires a temporary staff to run it. The vast majority of states throughout the country have had to expand existing unemployment programs with lightning speed using a similar process. The only people unaware of this fact seems to belong to the Republican Party of Guam. While Democrats have historically called for a local unemployment insurance program, Republicans have generally opposed it. We thank them for changing their minds. End quote from Carlo Branch.
Oh, man, that's just one of those classic Carlo Branch, like, petty, selective facts. So you saw, he said, here are the facts, but the facts they presented, it was, almost straw man in that they put out these facts that aren't really dealing with the facts that you brought up. Hey, look at these facts. Never mind the ones they brought up.
Chris.
Okay.
And when you look at it, right, when we'll just take the customer service representative at 77,615. Those representatives would make more than revenue agents 1, 2, and 3 at Revenue Tax, tax auditors, and tax investigators. And I was trying to do a fair comparison, right, as to how they handle funds, how they distribute funds. So Revenue Tax was probably the best agency to, kind of gauge a comparison. And they made less than 77,000. Those positions made less than 77,000, And we're looking at 14 individuals making $77,615 to man the cost center and assist in processing of the initial application.
That's crazy, because when you read the comments, people calling the call center are saying that they're not even getting the right answers. So we're paying people $77,000 to be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know who these 31 are, these chosen 31?
Oh, we're going to find out.
Yeah, we have no clue who they are. And what we were looking at...
I guarantee you they're in, though.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that they're making best use of the federal funds that are coming in to assist our people. And the way to do that is they could have probably hired 28 customer service representatives at a lesser salary and get these people working. Those that are unemployed in the public sector, perhaps those that are in human resources, or, that can assist with applications, that can assist with ensuring that their information is complete before they turn it in.
Right.
As they're online.
We've seen, Senator, because I just am now remembering that I always FOIA all the hiring. And by the way, there's one outstanding from Ed Byrne, DOA, I'm waiting on. But some of these people were existing labor employees who were hired at this higher salary to work on this PUA and the FPUC. And I'll send you guys the docs to show you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, please. And then, when you look at the assistant project manager would make more than the BBMR director, DOA director, chief of staff, legal counsel.
Oh, he's making more than the legal counsel?
Yeah.
With benefits.
With benefits.
$106,000 in salary alone. That's just in the salary. How does that the irony, it just gets me. You got, thousands of people applying for unemployment assistance because they've been laid off, furloughed, out of work for, 2+ months. And then we're hiring people for $100,000 to run a program that basically is going to run itself because of this software, that $1 million software that they made such a big deal about.
Mm-hmm. And the assistant project manager is to oversee the program activities and compliance with federal regulations. So you got one project manager at $163,816 with benefits that has no job description as to what that project manager is going to do. So do we really need an assistant project manager, or do we really need a project manager? So it just
How about an assistant? It seems like we need an assistant project deputy co-manager.
Yeah, so that's, we just want to make sure that these federal funds coming into the island are used appropriately and to the best use possible, so that our people can benefit from it.
Right.
We got another set of funds coming in for the unemployment assistance, and if we're not doing it right the first time, I think the federal government's going to keep a close eye and say, hey, wait a minute, you guys didn't do it right, so you know what, we're gonna scale back on that, and the end result will be our people will be the one to pay the price.
What do you say, though, Senator, to the what Carla Branch had put out, that, hey, the feds, they approve this? So, I mean, that kind of seems like that's their mic drop. Like,
is that what Dave Della Sola said, though, in the oversight hearing? Did you hear Dave Della Sola's response to Senator James Moylan's questioning? Because I
didn't. And, the thing about it is, this is what, yes, the federal government approved this, but they approved it on the integrity and the honesty of it being submitted, saying, these are what it's going to be used for, right? So just earlier, I was listening on the one of the other stations. They had folks from the administration on, and saying that the project manager will be only making $60,000. So if that's true, that the project manager will be making only $60,000, where is the rest of the $103,000 going? So these are the things that we need to keep an eye on.
That's pretty tricky, Senator, because if you look at it's 18 months, okay, 116,000. So what they're doing, I guess what they're doing is they're prorating and saying, oh, they're only making 60 grand, but I mean, they're making 116,000.
Yeah.
That's how you got to watch what a lot of these people, you guys in government now, Senator, you guys like to put out one thing and then it's like you put out another. So just always got to watch and listen.
So that's why, we always got to look out and see that the funds coming in are always going to be handled with care, and that, they go out to who they're supposed to be, and not being tucked away in some, slush fund, hoping that nobody finds it, nobody catches it, So that's why, Chris, we just want to bring to light the fact that this process, and this is about the hiring process. Who's going to be hired into these positions and at what salary? Because they were saying it's going to be lower, but no, what's showing to the federal government is the salaries that were submitted. And what experiences do these folks have in helping, like the customer service representative at $77,000.
That sounds like someone who put up canopies in the campaign.
Yeah, but we need professionals there. Like I said, the private sector has a lot of folks that are out there that are unemployed in human resource and finance, and I think those would be the people to kind of put into these positions, right? People that know how to fill out applications, people that know a process. So something like that, I think, would make streamlining easier for those that are applying for unemployment.
Right. Well, Senator, that's why we wanted to bring you on to kind of go over this release, and then the response from Adelup. We'll get you on. I want to bring you on every week. I don't know who the Democratic Party chair is, but I've always reached out to the Democrats, of course, for them to call in, and I'd like to do like a counterpoint thing with you and your counterpart on the Democratic Party side, but I don't know. Do they have a chair right now? Oh, it's John Jr. Calvo.
I think the chair resigned, and then
that's right.
There's an acting chair, so I'm not sure.
It's John.
That's John Jr. Calvo. Yeah. Right. He's very busy. Oh, that's good.
He's acting a lot. He's the acting chief of staff, and he's the acting Democratic.
He's going to get an Oscar pretty soon. He's going to get a COVID Oscar.
Yeah, so these are the things, Chris, that we want to keep light on. These are the things that we want to ensure that there's transparency, there's accountability, and, the people of Guam know exactly what's going on. I mean, when you got GCC, who was already in place May 11th, they were ready to go to support. I mean, we're here now, June 4th, almost a month after GCC has been ready, that we're still not getting checks processed. I mean, these trainings and things like that should have been ongoing, especially 31 of them were coming from government of Guam agencies that were just being temporary detail. So those folks could have actually been getting training since May 11th when GCC was ready, and start moving on. Hats off to GCC. You know, they got 10 classrooms. They got 80 computers that are ready to go. They got a call center that's set up with 34 phone lines. They got 6 phone numbers to call into. I mean, GCC has been really ahead of ball game here, and hopefully everything fits like a puzzle so that we can get the funds out to our people. And that's just the ultimate goal,
right,
to get the funds to the people.
Well, thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Bree.
Wash your hands.
Hey, always do, and congratulations on the Edward R. Morrow Award.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Senator. Okay, we'll see you.
Have a good day.
You too.
8:22. We'll take a quick break, and we're coming back with the acting deputy of the Guam Visitors Bureau, Mr. Jerry Perez, right here on the KUAM News Takeover, Guam's favorite, containing COVID. Good morning.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 virtual Relay for Life Guam.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
It's not always easy trying something new. Sometimes you have to help your loved ones along. Nana is so used to her weekly trips to the bank that going online can be a little scary for her. But her grandson knows that banking online is safer and easier. So he's teaching her how to get started using Bank of Guam's online banking videos. Teaching is one way to show our loved ones we care. Keep your family safe at home and show them how to bank online. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Calling all graduating seniors. Join us by showing your class pride in the celebration caravan you deserve through the island's major thoroughfares. KUAM and its partners want to recognize your accomplishments and help celebrate this pivotal moment in your lives. To participate, email promotions@KUAM.com and let's get this show on the road. Special thanks to ABC Stores Guam and The Dungeon.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Good morning. Good morning, Guam.
Off today.
827, the show proudly brought to you by Calvo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., Coast 360, the Bank of Guam, and IT&E. Hey, wanted to thank Kings here. They wrote us a little letter. I don't know if you guys can see this. Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Is that just for us? Oh my
A
gosh.
good thing it's my cheat day.
That's like a cheat week.
Yeah, it is. Bree and Chris and the whole Containing COVID Morning Show team, thank you for continuing to bring us the latest news and information on the coronavirus and its impact on our island. We appreciate all you do and present you with breakfast this morning. Please know we're now open for dining in from 6 to 10 daily and still have both carryout and delivery options available. It's our pleasure to hold down the fort right now with our location. Our neighbors on Harmon Loop Road, our King's Tamuning location is temporarily closed to the public so we can utilize it to fulfill commitments of our government services contracts through GFS Group Business. Don't worry, though, it's a little while longer before we get back into full swing. So again, Bree and Chris and the Containing COVID Morning Show team, enjoy this breakfast on us. And thank you for your commitment to keeping us all informed so we can stay safe and healthy and get through this challenge together. Warmest regards, King's Restaurants, Guam.
Oh, thank you guys. You know, I remember when we first started the show, that's where we would get our coffee. This is before we got a coffee maker.
Right.
in the newsroom. But Chris would be like, Bree, I'm going to King's. We get some coffee. I'm like, okay. And then they actually shut down because of one of the executive orders. And so we ended up getting a coffee maker because we needed coffee. But I'm so happy that they're open now.
Me too. And
I'm so thankful. This looks so good.
It does. We have here some fried rice. It's the King's Standard fried rice. Of course, some scrambled eggs. And Portuguese sausage.
Yes. I love Portuguese sausage.
8:29. Well, you're going to have to look at it for a little while longer because
smells so good, too. I'm like just staring at it.
I love the smell of Portuguese sausage in the morning. 8:30. Well, let's keep it going because this is a work day, Bree. So we'll go to the phones. I want to welcome the acting deputy of GVB, Jerry Parazon. Good morning, Jerry.
Morning, Chris. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Just real quick, wanted to catch up with you, touch base. I don't know, Bree and I agree this is a great pick for GVB. Bringing in some of the old hands who know a thing or two and have that institutional knowledge. So, Jerry, I guess the first question is, how have you hit the ground running over there at the Guam Visitors Bureau?
Well, actually, it's been pretty busy. Even before I came on board, I was kind of putting stuff together so that I could hit the ground crawling rather than sitting. But actually, the long and short of it, Chris, is, as you know, tourism is an industry that impacts and is impacted by a wide swath of business, government, and community interests. And because of this, there's no shortage of individuals or community groups wanting to help, wanting to do something because of the suffering that a lot of people are going through. And to put that in perspective, based on last year's arrival, as an example, this island is losing out $200,000 per hour in local sales and spending from the tourism industry. So if you put that in perspective, you can see why people are hurting, right? And so it's important to harness all of the people who want to contribute and want to help out in restoring our tourism industry. And so I thought that the first thing that we ought to do, which has been done now and shared with the board actually, and be happy to send you a copy of this later after we hang up, is to really develop a strategic development framework where everybody who is interested in becoming a part of the solution would have a home to be. Because nothing is worse, as you know, than unbridled energy that was going in 10 different directions with no forward progress.
Right.
So to help mitigate the fog of unbridled enthusiasm, we've put together a strategic development framework that addresses basically not only the current issue, managing the current problem and mitigating it, and actually, more importantly, keeping the message of Guam alive in the minds of our key source markets. And so there are many things that we need to do, but as we address the current situation, as we're putting out the fire for today, it's important for us to really begin retooling the most important sector, private sector economy on the island, because this is no longer the same recovery, Chris, as it has been in the past for like after typhoons or after earthquakes or after economic down cycles. This is a really different kind of paradigm that we're entering into. And so what has happened is because of COVID, for example, technology has really played and is continuing to play a bigger role in reforming this, the tourism industry. And so we in Guam are not quite up to that level yet. So it's important for us to really digitize as much as we can in delivering the Guam experience from end to end. And so that's all part of the stuff that we're trying to pull together. So we have basically 4 strategic initiatives that we're focused in. And for example, number 1 is maintaining or basically intensifying our destination visibility in key markets. It's important that even if flights aren't coming to Guam yet from our source markets, that we're not lost in the minds of our key markets. So it's important to maintain and intensify our destination visibility. And you probably saw some of this already that the GVB staff has pulled together. In the meanwhile, give us a moment.
Right.
And that's a very, very cool way of actually keeping visibility in our key markets. So now we need to translate that into actionable points. And actionable points involve not only working with the travel trade and the distribution structure to generate visits to Guam, but more importantly, working locally. And this is going to be a real challenge. Is creating a what we call a COVID-19 safe destination, where people who visit us, not just people who visit us, but actually for the local community as well, go into facilities, retail facilities, restaurants, other attractions, so that they feel comfortable. And so part of that is us in Guam enforcing health, safety, hygiene, and other spacing protocols to give confidence in not only our local community that we're doing what we can to be a safe destination, but also convey to our markets that that's the kind of destination we are. And to my earlier point, while we're dealing with today's problems, we really need to retool our destination to adopt new technologies that would not only address the current trends in the industry, but position Guam for the next 5 to 10 years, and not 5 years from now, 10 years from now, scrambling to try to catch up with the rest of the world.
Right.
So some of the aspirations that I think should be promoted and advocated and indeed worked upon by the community here, GVB being, of course, a key driver of all these deliverables, is number 1, have a safe and seamless visitor experience so that visitors coming to Guam from end to end have a minimum of exposure to any virus contamination. So more and more of the industry now, whether it's the airlines or airports, are creating seamless point-to-point, touchless experiences where you basically have a shared identity platform, whether it's the airline or airports, and by extension, government, immigration, and customs. So the whole idea is, in the future, we're probably looking at a less less touchable kind of experience, point to point, where there's touch experience. So like coming in from the airport, for example, or the global, the global arrival, you put your finger or your hand there. With biometrics, you don't need to do that anymore, and so you reduce your exposure to, any contamination and stuff. So there's really a lot of stuff that needs to be done. So the whole purpose of pulling together this strategic framework for recovery is to, first of all, basically provide a safe and seamless visitor experience. Second thing is, we really need, as a community, to start mapping up recovery milestones by having like a quantitative and like a qualitative dashboard to see how well we're doing on a number of aspects that relate to our tourism industry. And somehow we need to be sure that we're linked to global standards so that, 90% or more of our visitors are international, and so we need to be up to those standards.
Jerry, and it's kind of, wow, I wish there was a precedent for us to follow, but it seems like the whole world is still dealing with the COVID, right? So, in your opinion, and I know you said that we want to get to a point where we can say, hey, we're safe from the COVID or whatever, but do you think that people just out of habit, are going to start traveling anyway because this is the new norm? Where, I got family members who are going to Oregon this month.
Yeah. Well, there's pent-up demand for travel, Cliff, but the two biggest concerns, of course, is whether it's us here in Guam or whether our source market, people need to feel comfortable that where they're going, they can be safe, right? And the second thing, of course, is the government's, policies on quarantining, and in other words, the whole departure and arrival protocol is going to be really a challenge, and we're working through those issues right now. As a matter of fact, the governor has been very encouraging, at least for us at GVB, to begin a dialogue with our source market to see if we can begin at least point-to-point travel. This whole concept of bubble travel makes sense, at least for the time being, until a vaccine is produced. If you're not familiar with the bubble travel concept, Chris, this is happening right now between Australia and New Zealand, because Australia and New Zealand are both similar in terms of their level of safety and security, and so their protocols for travel are mutually acceptable, and there's reciprocity between the countries. So what we're trying to do now, at least initially, because the governor has announced opening the island for travel, is now we need to work with a travel distribution structure to try to convince not only the travel trade but also the governments involved that there is opportunity for reciprocity with Guam, because not only have we contained COVID virus, for example, but we're standing up a more robust system of contact tracing, and also in listening to a conversation with the medical community here and the governor the other day, they're standing up a more robust public health and medical facilities capability, so that if we have a reoccurrence or a second wave, as I call it, then we are well prepared to handle that contingency. So I'm kind of encouraged, Chris, that we're doing everything we can to reinstate a very important sector in our economy, and but like I said earlier, this is not like a quick turnaround like after a typhoon. It's a longer drawn out, and I must say probably a bit more expensive exercise in recovery.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring you on, Jerry, because I know we're early in the game, but, if we want to do maybe weekly, every other week, we also reached out to former Governor Gutierrez, who has committed to call in next week, just to kind of, give us an idea of where we're at. I mean, no one's expecting this recovery to happen overnight. I mean...
well, I did want to ask something before we let you go. It was something that Mayor Hoffman had brought up regarding this day, probably toward the end of the month, for this reopening of Guam, this major cleanup. Can you tell us anything about that?
The staff here is organizing this major cleanup because if you remember my earlier comments when I first came on board, that we need to stay visible in our key markets so we don't get forgotten. And this Give Us a Moment campaign, reminding them about Guam and the different things about Guam. So part of that extension, Give Us a Moment, is give us a moment to prepare, clean up. And that fits right in with that kind of message, is that when flights start to come to Guam bringing tourists, bringing customers, we are ready, not only from a health and hygienic point of view, but also the beauty of our island and the cultural heritage that we can share.
So do you have any time, the date of that, when that's going to happen? Or
yes. The last I checked with staff, which was yesterday, they're planning for earlier they were trying to do it by June 20th, but it turns out that Father's Day is that weekend, and so they're pushing it back to the end of the month. You'll be hearing more of this as time goes on, because they just had a planning meeting yesterday with some of the businesses and potential sponsors that they're going to be reaching out to. So you're going to be hearing soon on these things. But in terms of dates, keep that in mind. It'll be the end of the month, around the 29th or 30th.
All right, so I'm going to start preparing my trash picking up bahaki.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is like an island-wide thing, or is it just for tourist spots? Or
no, I mean, island-wide thing, but of course we need to focus as much as we can on the centerpiece of what represents Guam in through the prism of visitors, right? So, like the main thoroughfares, the Tumon Bay, the areas where 90% of our customers are exposed to. It's just as important, of course, to clean the rest of the island, and I think we're going to do that as well. But in terms of the initial thrust, we should really spit it up and get really
right on.
Good on.
All right.
Okay.
Did you want to ask something?
I'm good.
Okay. I was going to ask, just, we've seen the Department of Labor, they're bringing on all these people to stand up the PUA and FPUC programs, and it sounds like, we've got a lot of work to do to re-market Guam. Are we going to be bringing on a lot of staff to help GVB?
I'm not
Specialists?
Sure. I'll be here a short time, but I have no plans to bring in additional people. We've got enough people here who can leverage and do the work. And then how we try to work with is leveraging resources out in the local community instead of us hiring people and doing it ourselves, to leverage the support of the state. So what we're attempting to do now is to pick and choose and prioritize, based on because priority, as you know, if everything is a priority, nothing is, right? So we're trying to basically outline as the next steps the pace and balancing of what needs to be done today and what can be done tomorrow, kind of thing. So we still need to go through that exercise.
And just real quickly, how important is it for the state of this public health emergency to be lifted in order to aggressively market Guam as the safe destination?
Well, of course, total lifting is the ideal, but we're also realistic, and so even though we all agree that public health is critical, I think it's important to balance that with the other view that our economic survival is also critical. I mean, it doesn't have to be an either-or choice.
Mm-hmm.
Both needs to be addressed in the proportionate manner that releasing and encouraging visitors can be balanced together. And that's what I was alluding to earlier by saying that the medical community and public health community here are actually beefing up, so to speak, their capability to respond to a recurrence, and not only in terms of facilities, but in terms of equipment, whether it's ventilators or masks or whatever the heck it is, right? So I'm encouraged that while we're controlling and containing the problem now, that preparation is underway and ongoing to have a more robust public health system and medical facilities availability to handle future contingencies.
Mm-hmm.
So the ideal thing would be no more virus, right? And we have vaccines and 100% lifting, but obviously that's not reality right now.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we got to eat, right, Chris?
Yep, let's eat. We're looking at this fried rice.
Yeah, we got to eat.
Yeah. Okay, Jerry, thank you so much. And, send us over that the plan, and we'll unpack it and get it out to the listeners. And I'm pretty sure Nestor wants to really get some big eyes on that.
Okay.
Okay,
right, thanks, Jerry.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Wash your hands. There you go, acting deputy of GVB.
Good to hear, that he's on board, especially with all of his experience.
I like that they brought on Governor Carl. I mean, we were the ones who were like, hey, what the hell? You got this 2-term governor here who's been through every major disaster on Guam, and he's sitting on the bench. Let's get him in the game.
I remember that.
And now it's time to play ball. 8:49. Let's keep it with the phones here. I want to bring in Dr. Michael who's a member of the Governor's Physicians Advisory Group. Chris and Sabrina here. Dr. Mike, good morning.
Hi, good morning, guys.
Good morning. Yeah, I wanted to bring you on because, Dr. Hoa was mentioning this pilot project, I believe, that's going to be conducted over at the Japanese School of Guam, and he was mentioning your name. So if you could just provide us some information on this and how this came to be and what exactly it's about.
Oh, sure. Happy to. We had a meeting with DOE a few weeks back about them opening up, and then after the meeting we realized that there are a lot of smaller schools, some summer schools, language schools, tutoring places, etc., that don't quite fall under DOE jurisdiction, and with being a much smaller size, we thought it'd be a great way to get kids kind of back into the classroom. Research shows that they lose a lot of learning over summer than regular circumstances. And then 2, if we could come up with some good guidelines, we could kind of see how it works in the summer. And if things work well, hopefully we can kind of spread it out to some of the slightly bigger schools before having full rollout in the fall with DOE. Because we understand that parents are understandably going to be very hesitant at first to try to send kids in. And this way we can have a smaller, more manageable size to kind of work with and see what works, what doesn't work, what we can work on. I do want to clarify, though, it's not just a Japanese school. Japanese school is kind of the first one that we heard of that was planned to open up. I think it was because in Japan they've already opened up. Right. They were planning to open up soon. So they were kind of on the ball about it. So we kind of came up with our own baseline guidance that we created based on the 4 core principles of distancing, hygiene, tracing, keeping sick kids at home. And, we got together, we looked over what works in other countries. Some places in Scandinavia, they've been open now for about 6 weeks. Sweden is a famous example, never closed their schools for kids under the high school years. And Taiwan, I think, have stayed open as well. But for a lot of places, they've opened up in the past, 6 weeks, maybe a little bit longer, and we haven't been seeing any outbreaks in schools over there. And more evidence is showing that children do not seem to be a significant vector of transmission. So kids are getting it, but when they get it, we've already kind of accepted that, okay, they're not going to get sick as often or as severely, with the exception that kids under age of 1 and up and past the teen years, if they do get sick, they do have a slightly higher risk of having a more severe course. But overall, we're seeing that kids are dealing with this a lot better than the adults. And so the concern when we open up the schools is really going to be more of protecting the children from the adults that are there at the school from giving.
So I'm sorry, what other schools then? You said it's not just Japanese School of KUAM?
Oh yeah, so I mean, for example, like, you know, once we so we have these guidelines, and once they get approved by public health, you know, I think they would apply to, like, I don't know if there were like SAT tutoring, is there like a Sylvan Learning Center, stuff like that can open up, because some of these you know, institutions, they will only have a handful of students at a given time, and so, you know, with how we've been doing with responding to the pandemic, it feels like we should be able to keep them socially distanced in the classroom, give them proper like hygiene guidance, and they should be able to keep getting their the benefits of their learning.
Right. So what does this all entail? You guys are just going to give them these guidelines. This is what you guys need to do, and then just monitor them.
So we're coming out with these guidelines, and after they get approved by public health, you know, they'll be available to, I guess, any institution. And what we asked for the Japanese school, so we actually went on a site visit, was it just yesterday? And they were really excited to kind of show us, like, hey, you know, this is how we're going to be socially distancing kids, like in the parking lot, what we're going to do on the way in, the sinks that they put in. And so we just wanted to see, like, you know, are the guidelines that we're coming up with reasonable and realistic? So, for example, one of the things that I'm sure we definitely had a long discussion about it, but we're not going to be requiring masks, for example. They'll be optional for kids under high school. And what we're seeing is that, you know, kids are probably going to go run around the playground, you know, they'll touch each other, get pretty close. And the mask, you know, probably might not be super effective, in my opinion, especially if they get all sweaty and dirty. But I do understand that different places, like, you know, like if they were at a tutoring center, you know, they're not having a playground. And if the parents would feel more comfortable about sending their kids there with a mask on, and maybe the school would want to make it a requirement on their end. So they're free to go more stringently than what we put out, but we're putting out kind of like the basic guidelines.
Doc, so if we're doing these studies in tutoring centers and the Japanese school, which is obviously way smaller population than the public schools, are we able to just copy paste these same parameters and mitigation guidelines over to the public school system, or do you think that there's going to be any kind of fine tuning of the results of the study?
Oh, that's a great question. So definitely, I do think it's not going to be an easy copy and paste. Clearly, there's going to be challenges once we get to the bigger, denser schools. For example, if we want to have about 4 feet in between kids, is what we're asking for right now. But I understand that the classrooms at the public schools can be a little bit more crowded, and sometimes I've been told that they can have difficulty even getting kids like 2 feet apart. So they might have to stagger their classes. You know, DOE is working on this on their end too, so I'm sure they're very cognizant of this. I do want to say really quick though, it's not really a study in that we're not going to come out with like a research paper and you know, but what we're doing is
what do you call it then, Doc?
So I think it's just a pilot project to see if we can open up schools safely, and at some point, you know, whether it's this summer, whether it's later in the fall, maybe next year, at some point, some student will likely, or staff member will likely pick up COVID and test positive at the school. And so this has happened in other countries, and the important thing will be to see, like, hey, can we, you know, trace their contacts? Can we isolate them? Can we make sure it doesn't spread to the other kids? And if we can do that well, then okay, that one child might have to stay at home, you know, for the 14 days or until they can come back. But it means we can still keep the school open. And then, you know, if for some unforeseen circumstance the virus just behaves differently here than it does in, you know, Scandinavia, than it does in Singapore, Taiwan, New Zealand, and we find that, oh, you know, we are having outbreaks in school, which as far as I know, that hasn't happened anywhere in the world yet. But if that happens, then hey, I would rather have it in a smaller setting, so less kids. You know.
What about this thing we're seeing, Doc, in the national news? I saw a story a few days ago. Multi-system inflammatory syndrome from COVID now, and we're talking about kids.
It's rare.
Right. Is this something that we need to be concerned about here on Guam? Because we've had a 12-year-old test positive for COVID. We just found out one of the positives yesterday was a female aged 10 to 19, so we don't know her age. But is this something that we should be concerned about? Because in reading the national reports, as a parent, I was pretty bothered and worried by it.
Oh, yes. The MIS, the multi-system inflammatory syndrome, is really scary. It seems to be very rare. I think estimates go from like 1 in 1,000 to 1 in 1,000 of kids who actually get COVID. And it's from the early reports, they're saying it looks a lot like another kind of well-known condition called Kawasaki's disease.
Right.
The tricky part with Kawasaki's disease is that even though it's like a blood vessel disease, ultimately, it seems to be triggered by viruses. And so we've seen, even before COVID came out, we would have pockets of this, even in Guam. And, and then because it seems to be, it's just such a severe case, most children, with supportive care seem to do okay, but it just, we don't know yet, right? So, and the other thing that makes it a little bit trickier for us is we don't know exactly the prevalence of COVID on the island. We can guess with statistics, but we don't know like how many people have already been exposed. So we're just gonna have to really be vigilant and look out for it.
Well, very interesting insight, Doc.
And when does this pilot project begin? Is when they start school? This Japanese school?
I guess it depends on when public health gives their approval
to their guidelines.
To our guidelines, and then if they can, I think the recovery panel also needs to take a look at it.
So it hasn't even started. It's just a thought.
Oh no, the guidelines have been made. It's been presented to the public health, and their initial response seems to be pretty favorable.
Okay.
I would hate to. I don't want to give us a certain date and then push back. But hopefully soon.
Well, thanks, Doc. Hey, we got your number. Man, you got a really cool Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
We saw you had a lot of really neat videos about COVID. They're really kind of geared towards younger viewers, right? So, we love what you're doing.
You're a pediatrician, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's with One Love Rastafari Pediatrics.
No, just One Love Pediatrics.
Just One Love, not Rastafari, guys. To clarify, okay? We don't have the rules and regs yet.
Well, thanks, Doctor.
Oh, yes, sure.
Yeah, Doc, we'd love to get you on maybe, weekly and get some tips for kids or whatever. In this,
we're getting ready to get back school. Well, school may or may not start, but
right.
Still good information.
Yeah. Thank you, Doc.
All right, my pleasure, guys. Have a good day.
Wash your hands.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. There you go, Dr. Michael.
One Love Guam, right?
Yeah, One Love Guam Pediatrics or something. He's the guy in the commercial. He's got like the big spiky hair.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I was gonna put up his picture during the interview, but his WhatsApp profile is a dog. So it is what it is. 902. Let's keep it on the phones and bring on Senator Regine Bisco Lee onto the show. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning. When can I have this question?
I guess, you had a big oversight hearing. I guess we'll start there. What was your takeaway of that?
So this is actually the second hearing that we've had for Guam Department of Labor. And, so many people on our island are, anxiously awaiting this all these unemployment benefits to roll out. So it's really important that we, as the legislative branch, stay on top of it, make sure that we help to get the information out to the public and really provide some strong oversight over these federal dollars that are coming in to Guam for unemployment. And I think that, while a lot of progress has been made and GDOL has been working really, really hard on all of this, we still have so much more to go. And it's, people have been waiting for months now. They have gone for months without a paycheck. And so we are very cognizant of that. We're pushing them really, really hard to try to get this done, but we also want it to be done correctly. Mm-hmm. And so that's some of the questions that were asked yesterday and part of the presentation that GDOL gave to us.
Were you satisfied with the responses you received in terms of why it's taken so long?
I don't think anybody is satisfied with any of the responses with why it's taken so long, but I think, we also have to be mindful of the fact that Guam is pretty much the only place in the country that doesn't have unemployment insurance already stood up. Mm-hmm. And when you look at some of the other jurisdictions, they're also having problems, and they already have an unemployment program in place. Mm-hmm. So I can see, where some of our issues are happening in terms of those things, and trying to stand up a online portal and making sure that we do all of these things correctly, because it's a lot of sensitive information that we're going to be sharing and asking people to give us. Mm-hmm. So there's so many of these things that are kind of going on. It's going on behind the scenes, but it for somebody who is trying to feed their family and just is running out of money, all of those just sound like excuses. And so we're really trying to push them to make sure that they are able to roll it out as soon as possible, get these EFTs into the banks or checks in the hands of people, so that they can pay their utility bills, pay their rent, and feed their kids. So that's really what has been the focus, in really trying to get them to move it along and make sure that there's no just any kind of roadblocks that would derail the process.
Mm-hmm. So right now, what was the update? So people are able to apply?
Yeah, so the update was basically that up until this point, we've had about 1,200 employers and over 23,000 employee separations already recorded on Hire Guam. So that's the number that we're kind of anticipating hearing from. And then we already have about, as of yesterday, 8,562 claims filed so far. Mm-hmm. So it's really good to hear that GDO is working to resolve some of the issues that people might have. The director was mentioning that a big chunk of the issues were user error. And, it's really challenging because we're asking some people who aren't so online savvy or don't have access necessarily to a lot of these online applications to try to get up online and do all of these things. It's a big challenge. So I'm really glad to hear that, the business community is stepping up. A lot of employers are trying to help their employees through this process, but it's really going to take a community effort. So another big part of that is because this online application is so daunting, GDOL is standing up a service center at the Guam Community College. Right. So, just to get that in person, there's a lot of anxiety sometimes with people. And again, they've been waiting for so long. And a lot of times that you just really need to speak to somebody to make sure that you're filling everything out correctly, that you're able to get the right amount of benefit.
Have we heard when that's going to open?
I believe it's going to open next week.
Wow. And so were you able to find out anything else about the turnaround time? Because we had Dave on, and he said from the receipt of the application to the pay, or the review period anyway, is supposed to be something like 21 days. And I know he said that was the regulation of it, and he was going to do his best to do it quicker. So what were you able to find out about that?
Yeah, my understanding is it wouldn't be 21 days. That would be the maximum time. But if somebody has a bank account and all the information is inputted and they select electronic funds transfer, that's really the fastest way for you to get your money. It's also, in my mind, the safest way, because if you take a, $8,000 check and you go cash it, you're walking around with all that money on you. It's much easier, I think, and much more effective to have that electronic funds transfer. So it's my understanding that if all the fields are filled out correctly, they're able to process these things within, maybe 48 hours and get that money into the hands of people within that allotted time. So the 21-day thing, I think a lot of people were freaked out by that, but that's my understanding is it would be 21 days at the very longest, and that's if there's, complications and issues that need to be fixed back and forth. It could take up to 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Did he say what was the quickest?
Yeah, so that's why I think he's encouraging everybody to try to get a bank account set up and get electronic funds transfer, so that as soon as everything is correct, and again, they've sent out this checklist of things that you want to have at the ready for your application. He was even saying if you are able to provide some of these letters and some of this documentation, just take a picture of it with your phone make sure that it's clear and easy to read, upload that, and they will accept those kinds of documents as verification. So there's a couple steps along the way, and again, this is just to prevent fraud. This is to make sure that we're doing things properly. This is a lot of federal money that we're getting, so we really need to be on the ball and make sure that we're, treating this with respect, that we want to make sure that we're doing it right.
Did he say when the next installment was coming? Because it was only the $267 million, and I think we're trying to get $950 million total.
Yeah, that's correct. So once we begin drawing down on the existing money that we have, and we have a better understanding and idea of what it is that we need, USDOL will automatically upload the remaining into the account.
What was your do you have a reaction to what the Republican Party of Guam was raising and Senator Moylan about hiring all of these individuals, the 31 employees, and with salaries of, gosh, I don't have it. Let's see if I have a project manager with benefits, $163,000. They're going to need 14 customer service representatives for $77,000.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we hire all these people because, Bree, here are the facts. Again, 1,200 employers and 23,000 people on our island have already told us that they have been separated. There are over 8,000 claims so far. So unemployment benefits are, the single largest category of federal assistance that we're receiving. So it's so critical to have experienced professionals helping to execute this program.
What if we go in though?
Sorry, Chris. I just will say that, while 31 people that we're going to be hiring to do all of this work, and I've been told that these salaries are based on the GovGuam pay scale and that these positions have been vetted and approved by USDOL. So it looks to me like I want somebody who's, educated. I want somebody who has professional experience in these roles to be handling all this money.
Are these people already hired? Are they already hired?
We have requested, and as part of our oversight, we've requested the staffing pattern, so we hope to be getting that in the next few days. So I'm not aware. We've requested the staffing pattern, and I think that we need to trust that GDOL will do the right thing, but we also have to verify, and that's the reason why.
Especially if these are the most experienced people, and they've come with all of these qualifications. So, yeah, I'd be interested to see who these people are.
Me too. Because we want to, be sure that we continue to provide this transparency and accountability.
Right.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, we talk about trust, but we had to override Bill 333.
I like what he said, trust and verify.
So you have to verify, and that's the big part of what our branch is supposed to do. We're supposed to be providing this oversight for them, and that's, again, why we continue. We've had 2 hearings over the past 3 weeks. I know Dave and his team are really, really busy, and we thank them for that. But a big part of the work that you do is communicating what it is that you're doing to the public.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why, the program that you guys are doing and all of our media partners, making sure that we're on top of all of this is so important.
Since we do have you on the phone, I wanted to ask because I didn't realize we interviewed Parks and Recs about the whole pool situation, and I think there was a public hearing that was scheduled yesterday to provide funding. And when we spoke with John Birch, it was like the plan is we want to build a brand new Agano pool. And it's still, going through the process over at DPW. Did you participate in that public hearing yesterday?
No, unfortunately, nobody did because it was rescheduled.
Okay, all right.
So I was pretty upset. Obviously, I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I know that we're in session. We have a lot of these other things going on, but, kids and adults and people with individuals in our community with disabilities, they're waiting to have this pool back up and running. It's just, and our park situation, I've been taking my kids to EPAL Park almost every other day just to try to get them out, run some of their energy out. And it's the grass is growing, bathrooms are locked. This is a constant problem, and I just don't understand why it is. I haven't had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Birch. I really am looking forward to it. And I hope that he's going to do a much better job. But yeah, I hope that he and his team also understand that this is not something that's going to go away from you. We need to be relentless in our pursuit of making sure that, these facilities are open and available to the public, especially if we're going to, try and launch. I heard Jerry Paris on your show earlier and try and bring, people to come visit our island. Like, that's the last thing you want to do is go to a crappy public restroom that stinks. But yeah.
Yeah, I immediately thought of you when I heard the pool. I was like, oh man, I wonder if Senator Regine knows about what's happening.
It sounds like Birch just wants to skip the maintenance and just build a new pool and just be done with it.
Well, you said it was.
And hey, if you're able to find the funding, then that's great. If you're able to find a couple million bucks, find the money, please, because we really, really need it. We really need it.
One of course, the big item on the session floor this week has been the health insurance choice bill. You kind of want to go in on that and give us your take, because I know you're one of the big voices at the hearing.
Yeah, I've asked a lot of questions about this bill. It's really important that we get down to the nitty-gritty of it. We were able to set that bill aside and focus on some other things while they try to fix amendments and try to get some answers to the questions that we've been asking. So I'm really looking forward to hearing back from the sponsors of the bill and just get a little bit more information before we move forward.
At the beginning of this discussion, it was before the COVID, it seemed pretty simple, is that just people were upset that they didn't have a choice. But now with this being heard this week, I mean, so close and so late in the game, has that changed the main point of it for you, Senator?
Well, yeah, one of the questions that I asked about was the timing, right? The timing of this bill. And the sponsor has indicated that he is open to kind of pushing this back so it doesn't conflict with any of the current negotiations that are going on. But, yeah, let me tell you, we've heard from a lot of people that they're just very frustrated with the situation. My concern is, does this bill fix that automatically? And I'm thinking that the answer is no. And so, this is something that people think is going to be a quick fix. And I think, we really need to ask a lot of questions and make sure that we're communicating with the public and making sure that the public knows what the consequences of this bill will be in terms of additional government spending or placing a lot of the onus on our employees and especially our retirees with fixed income. So that's always going to be my concern, is making sure that, that people have access to care, quality care, but that they can afford it too. Because
what do you
it doesn't
say?
matter if it's a Cadillac plan if you can't, he can't afford it.
What would you say to those people who have continually voiced their frustrations with the sole source contract, who were kind of thinking when this bill was introduced before the COVID that maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel in terms of them getting a choice? Because we're talking to retirees and government employees, and it's pretty simple to them, right? So.
Right. So I just want to clarify something. It wasn't necessarily a sole source contract. Many people had the opportunity to bid, and then they had the negotiating team kind of go through and figure out which one was the best and most economical plan, right? So there is, in a way, there's multiple choices, and the negotiating team chooses on behalf of the active employees and the retirees which they think would be the best plan. And they have to provide a plan that meets all of these basic requirements, right?
Yeah, I think he was talking about the quarantine contracts. So just.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
There's a lot going on here, guys.
Hey, so was there a message, Senator, that you got from Senator Pito that was going around? Can you verify if that is actually from him?
Yeah, we received a Dear Colleague letter this morning. There's been a lot of things going on this morning, so I need to, sit down and actually go through it.
Dear Colleague letter?
Yes, to all senators.
Right. And so were you able to look at that? Can you tell us anything else about it? Have there been other communications with the senator?
No, just that Dear Colleague letter from this morning.
Okay. All right.
All right. I think was there anything else you wanted to get out? Anything?
Well, I know that, a lot of people around the country and even people here on Guam have been kind of fixated, and their hearts really go out to a lot of the people who are experiencing some trauma with regard to Black Lives Matter and this movement that's going on in the States. And I just wanted to take a moment to just say that confronting racism is never easy. It's never a comfortable situation, but I think, we can all agree that nobody deserves to be met with hate or violence because of the color of their skin or where they're born. And so I think here on Guam, it's really important for us to take some time to look inward and as an island commit to really practicing what we preach and having these tough conversations with ourselves, with family and friends, but also looking at how our own prejudices against minorities in our community might result in hate or violence towards other people. So, just taking a pause and thinking of what all that's going on out there, what that means to us.
Right
on.
I
know that there are protests. Yeah, there are protests planned for tomorrow, and I encourage people to practice social distancing, use your mask. But if you feel inclined, please participate.
All right, thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
All right, take care, you guys.
Take care.
Wash your hands.
Yeah.
Okay. 9:19. Hey, we're gonna take just a real short break, and we're coming back with. We're trying to squeeze our last few guests in here. The Director of Agriculture, Chelsea Munya-Brecht. Wanted to bring her on to kind of talk about this thing that's got a lot of my fisherman's friends excited. Their CARES Act funding.
Fundings.
If you're a pescador, you could get some federal dollars. So we'll tell you how. Next, right here on the KUAM News, Takeover Guam's favorite, containing COVID. Good morning.
Half a day. When it comes to applying for unemployment benefits as it relates to the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance and Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation programs, the first thing you'll need to do is create an account and register on HireGuam.com. Utilizing this button rather than the Not Registered button at the upper right login box will ease the pool registration process as it was built specifically for the pool program. The first page you'll see is the welcome page that explains the pool program and the 10 scenarios of eligibility that caused unemployment. Read through it entirely, and if any pertain to you, click Next. Input your social security number and then re-enter to confirm. Notice at the top of the page, the eligibility section is completed and the registration process begins. In order to complete your registration process, you will be asked to provide the following: a username and password and select a security question, an email address, or if you don't have one, you will be required to create one with the link provided, your residential and mailing address if different, your preferred notification method to receive benefit notices and updates, any prior military or current military service, education, occupation, your preferred payment method, such as direct deposit or paper check. Now, if you opt for direct deposit, you will need to supply your bank account and routing number. And since these benefits are taxable, whether or not you would like your taxes withheld. When you see the page notifying you to proceed to make your PUA claim, you have completed the registration process and may continue to the work history portion of the claims process. Input your last employer data, job title, and employment information. When the system prompts you to enter your last day worked, make sure you enter the date in which your employment status was directly affected by COVID-19. For example, if you were furloughed on April 1st, 2020, but have since returned to work, you will enter April 1st and not yesterday. Complete the rest of your work history information and add as many past employers as needed. Once completed, you will be required to certify that all information is true and correct, that you are responsible to keep informed of program benefits and reading program material, and that you acknowledge that any false statements are punishable by law and could result in a fine, imprisonment, restitution, and a loss of future benefits. Read through PUA's to-do list and take note of the following. Immediately file your weekly claim. Report all income for the week to include tips, commissions, and gratuities, even if you have not yet been paid. If you return to your normal pre-pandemic work hours or return to work and make over $494, you must stop filing a weekly claim. You must be able and available for work. If you are offered your job back and refuse for a non-COVID related reason, you are no longer eligible to receive PUA benefits. And at PCOR 3, you must look for work by contacting at least 3 different employers about job openings. Be sure to upload a valid government-issued ID and supporting documents to strengthen your claim. Congratulations! You have completed the PUA claim filing process. It's time to file your weekly claim. Click on the File Your Weekly Claim button to proceed. Read through the explanation of the weekly certification process and advisories before proceeding. Notice that the weekly certification process begins the week in which you claimed as your last day of work. Answer each page honestly and input additional information as required. However, if you have since returned to work, be sure that on the weekly claim of the day you returned, you adjust your weekly earnings accordingly. Congratulations! You have filed your weekly claim. Make sure you file for all previous weeks you were affected to present. Now continue to file every week thereafter to receive unemployment benefits for those weeks. For more information on how the Guam Department of Labor can assist you, visit our website at dol.guam.gov.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 virtual Relay for Life Guam.
It's amazing. I mean, man, Jason's never here when we get food, but we'll pack him something. With the King's fried rice, the Portuguese sausage, and the scrambled eggs.
Wait, we've been getting food?
Yeah, we have empanada and all that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I know it's not food to you unless it has rice. Good morning. So we wanted to play this one, Take It On to Umatic, my Chelos de Santiago's the fishing song. And that being said, we'll bring on the Director of Agriculture, Chelsea Munya Brecht again. Thank you for joining us, Chelsea.
Today. Good morning, Bree and Chris.
Hi.
So we saw a release that you guys had come out with, and apparently Department of Agriculture, there's some CARES Act funding for fishermen. Now, the application, you sent it out. I put that in about...
Or the registration form.
The registration, right? I put that in about 20 different group chats that I'm in.
I think we posted
Fantastic.
it online.
Thank you. That was the full intention of sending it out via WhatsApp.
Right. And so tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, so the U.S. Department of Commerce, with through the CARES Act, receives $300 million for fisheries across the United States and territories. $1 million of that was apportioned for Guam. So the process has been that NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, will develop guidelines, provide those guidelines to a specific fisheries commission. There are several federal fisheries commissions. They'll designate one to work with Guam, provide them the guidelines, and then that commission is supposed to work with Guam on developing a plan. With my I had 2 different conversations with NOAA, different people in NOAA in the last 2 weeks, and they were still working on developing those guidelines. But I just received an email from one of the fisheries commissions, I think maybe a day or two ago, and they're asking us and the CNMI and American Samoa when we'll be available for a teleconference. So I'm assuming that perhaps they've received those guidelines now, and they want to initiate the conversation on working, developing a draft plan with us. But Guam took, we took the advantage of the opportunity since they were still developing the guidelines to come up with our own draft plan. So we're ready to hit the ground running when they want to start this conversation. And when we came up with the plan at agriculture, we worked with our Western Pacific Fisheries Advisory Panel, which is made up of fishers from Guam. We spoke with Manny Duenas at the Fishermen's Co-op too about the draft plan, just to make sure that everybody understood where we, our perspective, our process, and how we wanted to handle it with locally. And we got everyone's input and approval on the process. So we feel really confident that our plan is something that the commission will be amenable to. I discussed the plan with NOAA too. So it seems like everyone's on board and we're ready to go. So we knew that the first step in all of this would be to identify who our fishers are on Guam.
Right.
So we created this registration form. And we've been disseminating it so that we'll already have our group of people ready when the process is ready. And this also has a second benefit in that there's never been a comprehensive database.
I was just going to say
who
how
our fishers are on
right.
Guam.
How key is that info to have all these guys' names? I mean, because when you do actions or find out things that impact the fishermen, you're right. It's good to have that. I mean, it's basically an address book of all the fishermen on Guam. So.
And it's wonderful because it also has this ongoing conversation now with fishers on Guam and the Department of Agriculture, DAR Fisheries, which hasn't always been, excellent relationship. And now we get to have a better one. We've had great relationships with fishermen here and fishermen there, but I think now that we get to have a whole group of them together and know who they are, we can share information with them more willingly and get more input from them on issues that we want to discuss with everyone. And we have opportunities now to expand our outreach and our education. So it's just a great all-around opportunity, I think, for the department and for our fishing community.
So, Chelsea, who's this? We know it's for fishers, but what's it for? They have to have been impacted by COVID?
So the initial intent was for, and this is through the Department of Commerce press release, was to help commercial fishers primarily, but it is also open to cultural and sustenance fishers as well.
But not reef rapers, right? We're not going to...
Well, we actually considered that, honestly, as part of our conversation. I mean, we had to think about what about the poachers or what about the guys we know who are out there fishing in ways that we think are, reprehensible.
Not sustainable.
And what it comes down to is we don't really have a way of distinguishing them from everybody else.
Right.
So we just have to make this available to everyone.
So it's just, if you're a fisherman, come get money. That's it?
Well, no, there's going to be more guidelines than that.
Darn.
For example, with
do you actually have to catch fish, Chelsea? Because I'm a fisherman, but they're just the whole catching the fish part.
Well, I stood in the water and swam in the water and avoided triggerfish, but that doesn't qualify me.
Pescador!
So for commercial fishers, what Commerce had wanted and put as a guideline was that they have to be able to demonstrate a 35% loss of revenue during this time. So we have 3 tiers that we created in our draft plan, and the first would be commercial fishers who are registered, licensed, and able to provide documentation for their 35% loss. And the second tier would be commercial fishers who may not have as much documentation, but they catch fish and sell it either to the co-op or to restaurants or to hotels. And if they can provide a sworn statement and then also provide a statement from those who buy fish from them, and maybe they have some documentation, then they'll be able to receive a specified amount of money. And then our sustenance fishers would be those who would also provide a sworn statement. And we want to be able to compare the listing of those with entities like the co-op, who may have a listing of registered commercial fishers as well, going back several years. So we're going to be able to cross-check names and verify that people are actually fishers.
So no posers.
trying, I'm sure some will get through, but what can you do? We just want to make sure that we get the benefits out to as many people as possible.
Right on. Chelsea, there were some comments on our Facebook feed about the pig derby and the quality of the meat and the potential risk associated with the feral pigs. How do you address that? Because I put they had to sign a waiver, but do you guys feel confident that absolves you of any liability?
Well, first, I want to say that our pig derby was a huge community success, and I'm super proud to be a part of the Department of Agriculture and all the really hardworking people who spent countless hours putting this together. I mean, we had staff who were manning check stations for over 15 hours a day just to help with this entire derby, and we had Senator Ragel's office that was able to provide connections with the Chuukese community who came in and participated and were able to receive a bunch of pigs. And I mean, there's the rules, and then there's what we know culturally. And the rules say that, the pigs have bacteria, parasites, viruses, and the only way to ensure that you don't get sick is safe handling and thorough cooking. And we provided guidelines for everyone with that. Whether you were a hunter or you received pigs, we provided safe handling guidelines. And then we did have the waiver of liability that explains that the government of Guam will not be held liable for, whatever various reasons, just to indemnify us from all of that. But then what we know culturally is that there are people who've been handling pigs for decades, and it's across all of our islands. Yeah. So we knew that every family receiving pigs were those who've done it before or engaged in that process. And you didn't have people who've never handled a pig coming up going, hey, can I get a pig? Right. And on whatever island, whether you're from here, CNMI, Palau, Chuuk, Yap, whatever, they have pigs that they catch and process there. Right. So I can say that, we feel fairly confident that people know what they're doing, that we trust that they know what they're doing. And if they didn't, then we provided them instructions for how to do that. Right on. Well, thank you for that, Chelsea. And I know there's a lot of stuff going on with your department, especially as we get back into the swing of things. So, keep me in the loop, shoot me a message, and anytime you need, we'll get you on if you got to get the word out about something. Thank you so much, and we will absolutely do that.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you. Bye. Wash your hands.
Always.
Okay. Just doing my part. I get $1 from Public Health every time I say wash your hands. Kidding, I totally don't. 9:36. Well, on the subject of agriculture, let's keep it with agriculture, and I want to bring on Will Parkinson of the Cannabis Control Board, because as I'm sure some of you guys know out there, we were already supposed to have rules and regulations for the, sale and distribution of legal cannabis. I mean, April, I think, was the deadline. So Chris and Sabrina, Will, and we wanted to bring you on to kind of find out. I saw there was some kind of talk about maybe having a meeting. Is that what the deal is, Will?
I'm hoping. Good morning, everybody. But yeah, I'm hoping that's what the deal is. I myself have been lobbying to start meetings online in some form since March. I've been trying to get these meetings put together, but with the whole COVID thing, some of the people who are critical to the Cannabis Control Board are also critical to the public health and economic response.
Right.
And on the one hand, as much as I'd like to make as much noise as I can about getting these meetings done, how do you tell public health, who's at the front line of COVID, and Department of Rev and Tax, who's trying to get all this economic stuff squared away, to put down the important work they're doing and come over here to this committee meeting? And so really that's been the big delay for us, is just because people like Daphne Shimizu and Linda DeNorsi are absolute studs. These directors are not phoning it in. They are active, engaged members of our board. But that also presents a problem when you have active, engaged members of your board unable to come do board stuff with you.
Right. And so now we're talking about having these meetings again. Is there a timeline on that, Will?
The last thing I heard about timeline of meetings is what was on the press from Vanessa Williams. She said hopefully first week of the month, but we haven't heard any notifications yet. But I would like to have meetings as soon as possible and get this work done, because here's the thing. I know people are very upset that we weren't done by the deadline, but that was because of the COVID.
Right.
Before the COVID happened, we were on pace to finish by our deadline. We were having the talks of when we were going to have the public hearings. We were in the home stretch. And so it's not that we have a lot of work to do, but we do have some critical work to do that we just need to sit down and do. We just need to sit down and do it. There's not a lot of it. We're really, really, really close, but we just need to get in and meet and do it.
Will, let's talk economy, right? So we're talking economy, recovery. How key do you think standing up the cannabis industry on Guam is to kind of like recreating and our economy?
My own personal feeling is I believe it's 110% critical. One of the big things that we're going to have problem with with our tourism economy is we're going to have problems bringing the customers back. And so you need some sort of lure to bring people in. And cannabis is always going to be a big lure, especially if it's a novelty here in the Pacific.
Right. So what would you say to those people who were ready to go with April and now they're just sitting there twiddling their green stained thumbs?
What I would say to them is just hang on tight, and I would also call the chairwoman, Vanessa Williams, contact her in some way, and petition for her to keep pushing and get these meetings put together. Because now, I don't want to say we're tailing off with COVID, because I mean, boy, I'm personally worried about a second wave of COVID. But we're starting to reopen and we're starting to open up the government again. Like I am antsy to get this done. This is a personal passion project for me.
Right.
And I want to get back to work and get this done. So as soon as we can get back to work, I'm raring to go. Like, I've been ready since March. Let's get this done. To the people that are worried that we should have done this by April, just know that there's people on the inside fighting for you, trying to get this done as quickly as possible.
Right. Okay, well, that was great, Will. What else do you want to say?
I guess the other thing I want to say is a shout out to Uncle Carl. Like, with him being the head of GVB now, hey, Uncle Carl, holler at me. Let's let's talk about making this a cannabis destination. Because I know with the previous GVB they were ambivalent about the idea of marketing Guam as a potential cannabis destination.
Right.
But I know if we are going to be a cannabis destination, let's do it. Let's do it, and let's turn into that skid and commit to that idea, because it is a powerful idea that we've seen works in Europe. Let's make it happen on Guam. Let's become the Amsterdam of the Pacific. Whoever becomes the Amsterdam of the Pacific first, the first to market on that,
wins.
Is going to have a huge advantage over the rest of the region.
Right. I can see it already. Guam, where America's Amsterdam in the Pacific day begins. Right? Yeah. Guam, it's lit.
Oh my God.
Will Sparkinson.
Yeah.
I got a nickname for you, Will Sparkinson.
Will Sparkinson. Call me Sparky.
No, we're not.
Are you going to run, by the way? It's a new it's an election year.
You know what? Like,
you just came up with your motto.
Before COVID, I was 110% going to run.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm on the thinking about it page, because there's a lot of things going on, and so I got to stay flexible like that. But it's definitely in the cards.
Right.
If anything, I'll probably be collecting signatures, and I'll think about it till the last day.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. What do you think, though, Will, man? Because you guys, way before COVID, Will was one of our regulars on the after party. Wow, that seems like so long ago. And I think you got some pretty cool.
God, Linda DeNorsi did not screw up this public health response, because, man, like, I totally went to bat for DeNorsi, and she she did me proud.
Yeah,
she
she
did not
did.
embarrass me going to bat for her.
Right.
So
yeah.
thank you, Denorsi, for doing such a great job, and for the most part, keeping the island safe. People need to forget where we were a month ago.
Right.
A month ago, we were digging mass graves and projecting 50 dead a week.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, any fatality is a tragedy.
Right.
But the fact that we had so few is a smashing success. I do think we caught it early. And I'm incredibly proud of the work our public health has done.
Right. I love Linda. I think she's a straight shooter, and I think it's very telling that the biggest controversy that has faced the public health department, at least in my mind, for the duration of this COVID, has nothing to do with the public health response to the COVID and everything to do with the unauthorized use of Linda and Pinko Denorsi's digital signature. That's been the biggest news about public health, is that they tried to do some funny business with her signature and got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're absolutely spot on about Linda Denorsi there. She is absolutely a straight shooter. In all the months of this year I've worked with her, I've been nothing but impressed by her.
Nice.
And she's a hands-on person. Yeah. She's not afraid to roll up her sleeves, go out to the testing sites, walk the pavement. We've seen it time and time again from her.
But she's also the type of director who's not afraid to empower the people that she directs, and we've seen it, I mean, for the first few weeks, it was like, Linda, can we get you? Linda, can we get you? Linda, can we get you? And then she'd say, hey, man, I'm doing all this, but here, get this, get Tess Archangel, get the Echo team, get Dr. Maglotnia. So I think that's very telling because, it's kind of had been a different story with Adelup where it was like pulling teeth to get someone from the administration to go on in the beginning. So I think it's really interesting, the contrast there. Will, so it's good talking to you, man. Hey, let's make this a regular thing. I like your perspective. I think it's sometimes off the wall, sometimes left field, but always very interesting.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. If I'm not interesting, then I'm doing it wrong. Thank you very much for that.
So, yeah, let us know when the next meeting is, but that's just something I've been wanting to bring you on for a while, but I just wasn't sure, how out of the COVID jungle we'd have to be to start talking about legal weed, right?
I know, if it was me, I would have been pushing it since day one, but man, you know what? It's not about me. There's other priorities, and I had to kind of sit on the bench to take one for the team. There was important work being done,
right.
and I had to be cognizant and respectful of that.
Man, I kind of forget that marijuana is legal on Guam. What's your take on it, Will? Or how has this first year of legalization been?
It has been incredible. I would like to give a special shout out and thank you to Clint Rigel for encouraging home cultivation, because home cultivation has done wonders for the consumer here on Guam.
Right.
People have been able to grow their own, and it has shown a marked drop in the prices of weed on Guam. It's gone down significantly. It's gone down like 40% in the first year.
So what kind of weed are you growing?
Gorilla Glue number 4.
Gorilla what?
Gorilla Glue number 4.
That's the thing, Bree, is that all the weed has names now.
Oh, yeah.
Gorilla Glue?
They all got branded like that.
Okay.
Gorilla Glue, he smokes it, not sniffs it, okay?
But, next time we have an after party, let me know. I'll bring you all guys some clones.
Nice, sounds good. Bree can't wait. She's more of a brownie girl, but,
Is that legal?
Yeah, it's legal. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry, you're not going to get it. She's extra paranoid because she was in the FBI Citizens Academy.
Oh.
But you can trust her. She's cool, Will. She's cool.
I don't even know what this Gorilla Glue stuff is.
Let's Google it.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Will.
All right, have a nice day.
Wash your sticky hands.
And
right.
if anything, we could get him on just kind of breaking down this marijuana stuff.
Yeah. Will Sparkinson.
That'd be an interesting lesson.
And I know we're kind of making light of Will Sparkinson and stuff, but man, going back to the after party, he's definitely when you talk about progressive values and stances. He's where I feel like a lot of the Democrats should be, and sometimes some of our Democrats be acting like Republicans. So it's always good to get Will on. Very bright man, of course, the son of former Speaker Don Parkinson.
We really should be bringing him on more.
Yeah, we should. So okay, we'll do it.
I want a lesson on all that stuff.
You want to get your weed degree?
No, I want to know. I never heard of Gorilla Glue.
Google it. Yeah.
Does it make you happy or does it make you like sleepy or?
Yeah, Google it.
Okay.
There's a site. It's like
called Gorilla Glue weed.
Yeah, Gorilla Glue Devil Weed. Okay. Make sure you put the devil in there.
Come on now. Seriously. You're joking, right?
Yeah, I'm joking. Okay. Hey, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and end the show on a high note. I mean, a good note. With our last call of the day right here on the KUAM News Takeover at Guam's favorite.
Gorilla Glue strain?
Yeah, Gorilla Glue strain. Okay. Yeah, original glue, a.k.a. Gorilla Glue. And, one thing I got to say about Will, when we talk about how weed has been legal, it's reached the point where, like, some of my aunties are asking me, like, and these are, like, older, like, oh, boy, I want to just try it, because it's there. So it's definitely something that was not this mainstream. I mean, even as recently as 5 years ago, if you think about the mentality.
This doesn't even sound attractive. Gorilla Glue.
Look at the picture of it.
I can't get over it.
Let's go to the images. I think they call it Gorilla Glue because it's what Snoop Dogg would call the sticky icky.
We need to go to a break.
Yeah, let's go to a break because now you're going to get me in trouble.
My mind is blown.
It's not always easy trying something new. Sometimes you have to help your loved ones along. Nana is so used to her weekly trips to the bank that going online can be a little scary for her. But her grandson knows that banking online is safer and easier. So he's teaching her how to get started using Bank of Guam's online banking videos. Teaching is one way to show our loved ones we care, keep your family safe at home, and show them how to bank online. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Calling all graduating seniors. Join us by showing your class pride in the celebration caravan you deserve through the island's major thoroughfares. KUAM and its partners want to recognize your accomplishments and help celebrate this pivotal moment in your lives. To participate, email promotions@KUAM.com and let's get this show on the road. Special thanks to ABC Stores Guam and The Dungeon.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 Virtual Relay for Life Guam.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
First time I ever lost my headphones in studio. That's all I'm talking about weed. Made me forgetful.
Glue. Whoa. Drop my drink.
Yeah, we had a comment from our buddy Glenn. What was that? Sabrina, Gorilla Glue will curl your lashes and straighten your hair.
Hi, my nanny poodles.
9:56. It is containing COVID. Again, thanks, man, to you guys for supporting the show. I want to thank our sponsors, Cowboy Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., IT&E, Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam at 9:56. Also to our viewers on KUAM TV 11, good morning on you. And as we always do, we try to end the show on a good note, where we bring on a group or individuals who are doing things to make Guam a better place during the time of the COVID. And so we're going to bring on Samantha Taitano from Manetlu to talk about, they're just, I don't even know if we have enough time to talk about all the good work. Chris and Sabrina here. Samantha, good morning.
Hi, Sam. Good morning, everyone.
Thanks for joining us. Now, I guess we'll just first start. Tell us a little bit about the group, because I know that we had the Micronesian Resource Center, and then you guys kind of like joined forces, right?
Yes, so we're Manetlu. We're formerly Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Guam.
Nice.
And so we kind of made the transition to localize the program in 2018. And so the Micronesian Resource Center is actually a division of Manetlu.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so we're one organization, and So we do a lot of the focus on youth, and then they do a lot of focus on helping migrant families really transition to, their new lives here on Guam and understand laws, helping them get connected to resources. So that's what we do.
And let's talk about, we're going to pop up the pics here. It's funny because I asked you and Ed, hey, send me some pictures of all the good work you did, and then my crashy iPhone. I got so many pics of the great things you guys are doing. So we have a few minutes here before the top of the hour, so I don't know if we can get to every single great thing that you guys have done, but just if you could, Samantha, just reel off some of the things you guys have done during the COVID that have really meant a lot to not just the people you've helped, but to you yourself.
Okay, so one of the big things that we've been doing, which the Micronesian Resource Center has been doing, is really translating the different information into the different Micronesian languages. So we translate to Chuukese, Pohnpeian, Kosraean, and then we just recently added Yapese. So we're just trying to make sure that everybody has the information that they need. And then also the Micronesian Resource Center has been assisting people with applying for new and existing public benefits. A big thing that we've also been doing is we partnered up with Kadu, the restaurant in Manilao, and Grab and Go. And we've been providing families with meals on a weekly basis. For our program, we reach about 350 people in a 2-week span. But I know that Kadu also provides meals to Catholic Social Services and Salvation Army. Another big thing that we've been doing is something we call Nenny News. And this has been airing on PBS, and it's on YouTube. And it's a way to get families to interact with their children and to kind of highlight the positive things that they've been doing in the community. So it's just viewer-created content. They just send in videos talking about, how the kids are staying happy and healthy while they're at home. So, and then, we've gotten a lot of, positive responses from other organizations who want to donate, food and supplies. So some of them are the Guam Association of Realtors, Guam Memorial Memorial, Bank of Guam. So all of them have kind of made some sort of donation to us. Also Nissan Guam, they've helped us by getting us one of those COVID recovery kits because the Micronesian Resource Center is helping people by appointment only at their office. So just to make sure that, our staff and our clients are staying safe, they've, provided us with some essential items to do that.
Well, Samantha, we just wanted to bring you on to kind of recognize the good work that you do. And I just had one last question. As you guys pivot from, the response and providing the assistance and stuff, how are you going to start folding in maybe some of the activities you did before COVID now that, we're kind of returning to this new normal?
Yeah, so, we're still kind of continuing to plan our summer activities and kind of look to the government to see, what kind of regulations are going to be lifted and, what guidance they provide us. But, we are hoping to kind of get out there into the community and at the very least do small things, small activities. So, we have some alcohol and tobacco prevention programs that we're looking to launch in the summer that will have both a social media aspect, but then also like a small group aspect in the communities that we work with. And then we're also hoping to start holding some workforce development workshops to really assist people who, have lost their jobs to, rethink their resume, rethink, what job opportunities are out there and what resources are out there so, that we can recover together as a community.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring you on, and Samantha, and I know it's just a small gesture of our appreciation, but when we were thinking about COVID heroes, I mean, you were definitely one of our first choices. So thank you so much, Samantha, and you and Manetlu, you guys are COVID heroes.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We have such a hardworking team, and we couldn't do the work without them, and we couldn't do the work without the support of everybody in the community. So, thank you to everybody.
Yeah, Hagamos, Samantha. God bless you, okay?
Okay, thank you guys.
Wash your hands.
Yes, I will.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
There you go, 10:02. Well, that's a great way to end the show on a good note with something positive. Thank you guys on our KUAM Facebook Live audience, right here on the radio. Well, as always, I appreciate it so much. It's great to be back on our audio stream, Docomo Channel 10, and on the KUAM News app.
Yeah.
Good job, Bree.
Good job.
Bree's tired because she just power chowed 2 plates of King's fried rice, eggs, and Portuguese sausage. I'm right behind you. And thanks again to King's.
Yeah.
And that's it. Anything you want to add, Bree?
No.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
We got a lot of stuff we got to take care of today. So I best get going to do that.
All right. Well, there you go. Good thing you powered up on a good breakfast to do that.
I'm not done yet.
I know. Yeah, she does her real chowing off camera. Okay, so 10:03. My name is Chris for Sabrina Salas Matanani. This has been the KUM News Takeover containing COVID. Esta. Adios!